Special Operations, Covert Ops, Espionage, The Team House, with your
episode 101 with The Team House. I'm Jack Murphy here with Dave Parke. We are here with our guest tonight. This is Kris Paronto. Kris is a former OGA contractor. He's a 2nd Ranger Battalion soldier as well. And, of course, most of you guys know him from the book and the film 13 Hours. Kris is a survivor of the attack against our consulate and the annex in Benghazi. So, Kris, thank you again for joining us tonight. Really great to have you here. And, Kris, I also got to mention, Kris does the Battle Line podcast with our friend Ian Scotto, who was on last episode. And I hope that if you guys like the Team House, I think you'll really like Battle Line. Dave and I have both been interviewed on that show as well. So please go check it out if you have the chance.
Yeah, I mean, they're great to listen to. They have a great guest, as you know, you can tell.
Well, and of course, which one was the best one? Let the listeners decide. Go and listen to it, and then make sure when you decide, you put that on the Team House and you let the loser know, because we're not against shaming here, especially with ex-Rangers. We love to shame each other so we get better. That's how it's done.
Right. The negative reinforcement. It's all about negative reinforcement. So, Kris, as you know, like, especially when I was on Battle Line, we talked and we both found that, we're all kind of geeky in our own ways. And one of the things that we like to do is ask people their origin stories, because you guys are all superheroes. Everybody we have on the show in their own ways is a superhero. Yeah. And so, tell us about you. Like, where do you come from? How'd you grow up? What led you to the military?
As we talked about, and make sure everything's going right. Are we still streaming? Make sure we're good. Got to check.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And we're good. Okay, because I want to make sure we have that momentary pause so everybody's uncomfortable before we start talking. Because that's how you got to be uncomfortable.
You have to.
Nothing gets done unless you're.
That's when you find out what somebody's made of, right? When they're uncomfortable.
Yeah. They're uncomfortable. Oh my Lord. Anyway, raised. I was raised. I wasn't. Again, we were raised lower middle class. We're just normal family. But my mother and my father grew up with the values of hard work. And my mother, being Mexican, my grandfather was an immigrant who came over from Mexico, and this shows you the value of hard work. Busting his ass, being just a picker on a farm, to actually running his own farm. How I grew up on his farm, and the value of hard work. My father, his parents died when he was 1, so he really grew up without a family, but still both of my mother and father, even with the hardships that came with their lives, which I didn't have to experience because they made sure I didn't have to, because they were successful. But they instilled, and my grandfather as well, and my grandmother, Rose Garcia and Joaquin Garcia, instilled in me that just hard work pays off. And I saw that within my grandfather every day, that he got up to get on the farm, and I took it for granted because I'm a kid and I didn't know him when he was the immigrant. I saw pictures, but who knows? I didn't know what that was. I played with the wetbacks on the farm. We played baseball together. One actually saved my life playing hide and go seek in the back of a potato truck when I couldn't see what I was running into, and I was bleeding out the back of the truck, and a migrant worker climbed in there and pulled me out, because I guess I was hiding in a good spot because nobody could find me. I was basically bleeding out there. And but what I was saying is that the value of hard work was instilled in me, but it wasn't, hey, you got to work hard to be successful. It was just there. And
right.
I grew up.
This is just how you do your life. This is just what you do.
That's just normal. And it wasn't, and the thing is that I can't say, well, I was so poor and distraught and everything was awful, we didn't have anything. No, we had food. We had a good middle class life. Yeah, I lived out in the country. I grew up in the rural areas, not in the cities, but it's still, I guess that says something for my family and my grandma and my grandpa and them, is that we could have had that hardship life But I didn't see it because they made sure I didn't see it. That, hey, yeah, things might get bad sometimes, but we're still going to work hard and be successful. And you know, we did. My father ended up getting his PhD. My mother retired. She was a teacher, educator for many, many years, retired after 28 years. My dad coached at a university that won the national championship one year when he was at Brigham Young as a linebacker coach, which was a cool experience in its own right when you're a kid growing up around Steve Young and Jim McMahon and guys like that. Look, Coach Lavelle Edwards, they don't make college coaches. That college football is not like that, not like those days. The Lavelle Edwards, the Paul Bear Bryants, the guys like that. And going up around that and just seeing that, man, if you just bust your ass, you know, it doesn't matter how bad it's going to be. You're going to eventually win out. It doesn't matter. And you don't know when. Right. It could be tomorrow. It could be 5 years from now. It could be 10 years from now. But as long as you just keep busting your ass, you're going to be successful. And also, I also learned that money doesn't always mean success. And that was something that was great to learn, because when the movie came out and the book came out, and I wrote a couple other books, you know, I'm getting down the line a little bit. I had a lot of money. I was probably the most miserable I had ever been in my life. I deemed that as, you know, I will be successful. And no, it really has not at all. But the prep before that, watching my grandmother and seeing what success was, that it wasn't money, gave me something to go back to. Like, wait a second, I am way out of what I have been taught and raised with. I'm full of myself. Basically, I'm full of shit. I'm buying into my own bullshit. What would my grandma say? What would my mom say? Which she said anyway, because she was still alive, and she would tell me, hey, remember who you are, son. Remember who you are. So it was good, because learning it at that age, that origin story of learning humility, but also learning that hard work does pay off, but having a lot of money doesn't mean that you're a success. It just means that you have money. Right. It helped me down the line when I got caught up in some of the bullshit that I did. I got caught up into it from 2016 to 2000. It was about 2015 to 2018, where I was, I had plenty of money, probably the most money I've ever had in my life, and I was completely miserable. Yeah. And so, I think the origin story for me, if there was any heroic story, it was just the value of humility and the value of you hear all that is the meek shall inherit the earth, that sort of thing. People misinterpret that. They think meek means weak. No, meek means humble. That's how I interpret it. Maybe we can get in theology all you want. People can argue with me on that, but I interpret that as people being humble are the ones that are going to inherit the earth, literally, figuratively, everyone. This is not a theology podcast. Sorry, get it? I'm just saying.
We're an everything podcast.
Yeah, that's cool. And I know Rangers. You know as good as I do. Rangers are some of the most free-thinking sons of bitches out there, and I'll be honest, most intelligent. I know it's a shock, guys. I know, but some of the most intelligent motherfuckers out there. And so, believe me, they have ideas. Rangers all have their ideas on God and faith or being an atheist or agnostic and so forth. And so that's why I think I'm able to talk like this, because you sit around the team room, and I know Jack and Dave, you guys have had your own experiences in a team room where shit like this popped up, and like, wait a second, I was just supposed to be talking about women in bikini and drinking whiskey? No, we're talking about comic books and we're the creation of man. And it's like, holy shit, man, Chris, the right Ranger Battalion right now?
I got a question for you. I know we're not going in any sort of chronological order here, but I know you've been pretty open about some of the things that you struggled with, but when you say that when you had more money than you'd ever had in your life, but you were also the most miserable, what did that mean? Was it because of all the attention on you, all the added attention, that there were other people who had thoughts about what kind of man you should be, or was it the expectations? Sure. I mean, what was it for you? What was it that made you miserable?
It was a sense of emptiness. I had divorced from my wife. I'd left the family. I'd left the people that actually had stood by me for years, thinking that, hey, man, I don't need them. I got myself. I succumbed to a lot of the vices that people. You watch the documentaries about, and I was not on this levels at all, but of rock stars and movie stars and how they succumb to drugs and alcohol, or if you're in Gene Simmons' case, the vices of the human flesh. If you're in that, granted, I'm Kiss, I can't even imagine, guys, being in that levels. But it was succumbing to my own vices, succumbing to my own temptations that destroyed the relationships that I had made with my wife, with my. I mean, I finally have a chance because I'm home to be a father to my kids, and I still wasn't, because I chose, well, let's the temptations. Let's go do all this. I can do it now. I got money, I got a name, and I can attract a certain group of individuals with that they don't care about me. They don't give two shits about me. They just give a shit about who's Tanto. Tanto. I was Tanto way before Tanto was cool. If it's even cool. But all I'll say is that the emptiness that came with it, because of me really losing family and faith and everything that I had learned at Ranger Battalion, everything I'd learned at GRS. I said this in 13 hours. I was my best man when I was overseas, because I didn't care about anything but the mission and being there for my brothers, and having a good time at what we were doing. But I didn't care about women. I didn't drink a whole bunch because I couldn't do the job effectively as I got older. And when I came home and was on those 3 years, it was, man, this is cool. Red carpets. I've never done that before. Getting drunk all the time. Wow. I'm divorced now. My wife, and I've got a 1-year-old son, and I'm divorced. It's like, dude, I look back at it now. I'm like, what a fucking scumbag I was. But it was losing myself and trying to create an identity that didn't need to be created. Creating a Tanto identity based off what people wanted to see.
Right.
When I was Tanto, that was my call sign when I was working GRS. It was given to me as a joke, because that's what you do by a SEAL and a Force Recon Marine. Be like, hey, you're an Indian. You look like an Indian. Well, yeah, I'm kind. My grandma's Navajo. She's Mexican primarily, but we don't give a shit. Your last name's Paronto. Tanto. Good to go. Right. And and so it was working as Tanto as a call sign, but not Tanto as somebody that felt some self-importance, because I don't know. And it was during the election time too. Yeah. So it was, God, it was out of control. And I don't know if guys, I know that I'm not bred to handle that sort of spot. I don't need to be there. I don't want to be. I've accepted it now, but I've also reconciled with my wife that I would divorce from. I'm also back to being family first. Like even tonight, guys, like I said, hey, we got to cut it a little short because tonight's family night, which of course Rangers always understand. We give each other shit, but Rangers are always going to say, yeah, family, go not, especially because we've seen enough divorces and fucked up relationships in our tenure to not say that. We'll make fun of each other, but we all know, it's all good fun. So that was it, brother. It was the vapid lifestyle. And yes, Rangers also have a big vocabulary. I do know what vapid means. The vapid lifestyle of being just a total douchebag and buying off on my own BS of how self-important I thought I was. And I was humbled. I mean, God, to help me come out, it's the only thing I need. That's the only thing. Sometimes you get the good Ranger, hey, dude, you need to fuck your ass, which is what I needed to hear. I wasn't you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. I know you're going through hard times. It was actually a first bat Ranger friend of mine looking at me going, that knew me since high school, going, dude, you are fucked up. What's wrong with you? And me fucking finally stepping back and going, you know what? I am. What have I turned into? So it really was. It was that in itself. And some guys can have that lifestyle and enjoy it. It's not me. And it made me a terrible, terrible person.
That's interesting that it was a teammate that came to you and like told you like, hey man, like you've lost sight of yourself, and that was the moment for you that you were like, oh man, you're right.
That was it. It was actually, I was going through a hard time, going through another crappy relationship with a crazy, and she was batshit crazy. It's just the typical. But I asked him, I said, man, what's wrong with me? And he was on the phone. I was actually at Planet Fitness working out, I was on another road trip again, and he was one guy I could call, and I didn't talk to my, I was divorced, didn't talk to my family a whole bunch. And I called him and I said, hey dude, his name's Ben. Oh, you guys may know Ben Morgan. He actually does the vodka and stuff with me. We train at Battalion together now. We served with 19 Special Forces together, and he was a first bat guy. I said, "What's wrong with me?" And he goes, "Hey, dude, you just need to unfuck yourself. You've gone off. You've gone off the deep end." And he said it with as much respect as he could. Yeah, but he says, "Dude, Nate, you've done this to yourself.
Yeah.
And then I went home after the trip and I looked in I had to take a look in the mirror. And that's the hardest thing I think anyone can do if you're having issues within yourself. And you don't want to think it's yourself. You want to blame it on others. Just look in the mirror. And that's what I did. I looked in the mirror and I said, is this where I want to be, for the rest of my life? Is this how I'm going to live the rest of my life? And I looked away twice. I couldn't look at myself. I was so ashamed of the person I'd become. And so it took that step, and then the step of me actually looking at myself and saying, hey, is this how you want to live your life? Essentially. And that's when I started to turn it around. And it wasn't overnight either. It took 3-4 years for me to finally just get it all turned around. And I had to stop the drinking as much. Don't I? I still drink a little bit. Don't turn. I started to work out again like I used to, which now I'm back in great shape. I reconciled with my wife. I became a good father. I finally fixed a relationship I had at 16 now, which we didn't have a very good relationship up until last year. I had my 12-year-old daughter, and it's been fantastic. But it took that kick in the ass, and then self-reflection. Like, I told all Rangers this. I said, guys, we don't quit on ourselves. I wasn't thinking, I want to quit. No. Don't quit on yourself. We've never quit on anything. Just toughen the fuck up. And that's what I needed to hear. Yeah. Toughen the fuck up, dude. You can do this. Stop being a big puss and get your shit fixed. And it's like your squad leader would tell you if you were up on an op. Hey, going to cry about it? No. Get your shit fixed. Get going. And it helped me. It doesn't help with everybody. I'm not going to say it works with everybody. But that's what I needed to hear.
I think that it's easy for people who have not had that kind of fame or notoriety or recognition. It's easy for us to judge anybody, celebrities, whomever, pundits, whomever, to
the whole thing with Britney right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for us to judge people, but you don't. You really can't put yourself in that situation and know what you're going to do until people are like throwing themselves at you, or people are constantly in your orbit trying to get things from you, or
telling you how great you are,
or everybody is saying, "Hey, what you say is really important, so say it louder." Right?
And when it becomes that. It becomes what I found is that people were able to make a lot of money off me.
Right.
And in the gist of, well, I'm helping you to make money, but I can, we can do this together. And I lost control of even just dictating myself where I could go, what events I could do, what radio shows do I want to do?
Right.
Or TV or something like that. And I even said it to one of the people that we since have parted ways that worked with me, that was terrible for me. I told her, I said, I feel like a monkey on a string. I feel like I'm that dancing monkey and you're cranking this box. And every time I've got to jump around and dance around for Fox and CNN and whoever the fuck else wanted me to be on the show. I said, I'm tired of this shit. Right. I'm tired of being the Benghazi guy. There's more to this. I'm tired of the politics of this being. And I took the blame for it. I said, hey, I know we got into the politics of it. I was responsible for part of that. I think it was possibly, I said, at the time it was good. People needed to know. But I said, now 3 years later, let's stop that shit.
Right.
Because this is not the story. And this was after me being able to look back at it more over the years and self-reflect and do my own AARs on that night or other operations and this is leadership. This is faith. This is overcoming adversity. And then learning from, going back, because we're not chronological order here. I was kicked out of the military the first time I was in. A lot of people don't know that. I wrote about it in the Ranger Way, but that was hard to say. That was hard to say. Hey, I know you guys all maybe think that I'm just some badass, but I'm not. I'm really 160 pounds dripping wet. Oh, and by the way, the Army said, hey, you're shit. Get the fuck out. Right. You don't need to be here. The first time I was in. So, but then that old adage. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So let's go back to that, because these are important. Like, I think that, it's important, when we have a guy, who failed out at SFAS the first time, or, I think it's important for people to see the human side of these things, right? So first off, what led you to the military? What led you to the Rangers?
But I'll say this, it was a path. It was just the path I was supposed to be on. Why do you say that, Chris? Well, because I had no intention of going in the Rangers or SEALs or the military at all. I played college football. I was graduating from college. I was walking through the student union building, that career, at the end of right before graduation, there's a career day where people come in, and who's at college career days or high school career days? Well, military recruiters, Army recruiters, Navy recruiters, they're there with their cubicles or their stands. And I was walking through the student union building, and it's career day, so all these jobs, the military's there, and the Army recruiter's right next to the Navy recruiter, and I don't know how he picked me out, or maybe he was yelling at somebody else and I just turned my head. I don't know. But there's kids everywhere. And he goes, "Hey." And I looked, and he goes, I was like, "Me?" And he goes, "Yeah, come over here." And he showed me an Airborne Ranger video. He showed me a 75th Ranger recruiting video. You know the one. Blowing shit up, jumping out of airplanes, all the stuff that's really cool. He doesn't show you the grind stuff, but just the cool stuff.
Right.
And that's also, I love seeing the black beret back there, because that was when we all just had the black beret. And I don't care if you like green berets or not, that black beret was the shit. I mean, that was badass. I mean, yes, that's what I'm talking about. You saw that, and if you have when you're a real Ranger, 75th, and you know how to camp that thing down, so it's kind of flashed down just a tad, and it's caught over that runway. I'm like, God, that is badass. I want to do that. And he's like, "Well, you can just, these cars, just sign up." So he's like, "Well," he goes, "Come down to the recruiting office. We'll talk." And that was it. I did stop at the Navy office when I did go down the recruiting offices, because Navy was here, Army was here. I had to walk this direction. So I walked by, and they did have a SEAL challenge, recruiting poster up, and I walked in, and it just didn't intrigue me as much as that Ranger video that I saw on recruiting. And I just walked in, and I go, "Is it tough?" He goes, "Yeah." Excuse me. I go, do people quit? He goes, "Yeah, people fail out all the time." I said, "All right, roger that." So I was looking for a challenge, because playing college football, you're already, when you play football through high school and then you get up to those levels, and I just got out with the Buccos and the Vikings, decent, but when you're 5'9", 170 pounds, and you don't run a 4.40, you're not going to the pro. I don't give a shit how good you think you are. You're not going. But it was another way to be like, okay, this is something that, first of all, it's going to make me feel cool. It is. People quit, so it's hard, and it's something that, whether I knew it or not, it was something that I could challenge myself at, because there was that essence of failure, which I think all of us that joined the special operations community, we kind of dig. It's like, well, can we do this? Let's see. Let's test ourselves. And that's essentially what it was. And I had read the Charlie Rangers books back in college about, those guys were badasses. Oh my gosh, do you have those? The Charlie Ranger books? Oh, that's
right here.
Is that may be the same one? I still have it. I still have it in a tough box. That's it. Yeah, that's it. I still got it in my tough box. So I knew a little bit about Rangers, but I loved reading Vietnam War history, and those guys epitomized what badasses were. Yep. And so when I signed up, it was like, man, this is, it's I get to follow this lineage. That's what those guys were. Right. I know, and yeah, and I went to Fort Benning and went to Echo 258, and I still remember the first day. We went to 30th AG. We did all that other stuff that people don't understand. Even that's a shit show, being at 30th AG forever. What was I there for 3 weeks, which sucks on its own, right? But we don't talk about that. We just talk about when we started basic. Right. Getting off the cattle cars and going in there, and I still remember, the kid from New York, because we had four college E4s, which is basically I'm a private 4 is what I am, but I have college, so I get that E4 rank. So all those college E4s, there's 4 of us. We're all in charge. We're the platoon leaders, squad leaders, because you're the college kids. Well, there's this kid in New York we couldn't get to do anything. Day one, couldn't do anything. And I remember we took him into his office with Drill Sergeant Charles, who was from 3rd Ranger Bat, had his tab, and I remember the kid walked in. Drill Sergeant Charles is the senior drill sergeant in our platoon. He's not the senior drill sergeant, but he's our head. He's our E7 in our platoon. And he's sitting there like this. And I remember the kid from New York walks in and goes, "What?" And did that little back on the block swagger. Holy shit. The drill sergeant, I don't even know. He got around his desk and just, the kid, I mean, elbowed the shit out of it. And the kid just, and I remember standing there going, the recruiter told me they don't do that. In my head, I'm going, they don't do this shit anymore. What the fuck is going on?
There's nothing left but a pair of smoking boots.
Right. There isn't. And the kid was in sick call for 3 weeks because he had a hip pointer, and it was just black and blue all the way down to his kneecap. And I remember thinking to myself, that was, we all have that moment at basic. I think every one of us, especially if you went through in the 80s, 90s, maybe even the early 2000s. I'm not for sure, where you go, uh-oh, I made a mistake. I don't. What did it? But that was my indoctrination into the Army, and I loved it. I was like a square peg in a square hole. I excelled, and because of football, I already had a good base for physical fitness. So it was just changing those muscle fibers from fast twitch to slow twitch, from going from running sprints to being able to run a 2 mile in 11, whatever it was, and I was very blessed to have good genes. I was always a good runner. So, and as good as I do, when you're an infantry guy and you're going to go to Ranger Battalion and you can do PT, you can score 300, max it. Well, they're already starting to look at you, and you start feeling good about yourself. You're like, man, this is, and I did. I did well and went to airborne school, finished that, went to RIP. My RIP tech was Sergeant Jeff Strucker. He was our RIP tech. And I remember he came out of the door. I still remember this. And he's just looking. This is the most intimidating man that didn't have to say a word. He didn't have to say a word. He just came, you get on that damn blacktop there going into RIP there at the third bat barracks where HHC is. And you run in and they shut that damn gate. You're on that damn basketball court. Everybody's shitting themselves. I remember he walked off and on those stairs right there. He's just right at the door, come out. He's at the stairs and he's just like this. And he didn't have to say a word. He looked at us it felt like 30 minutes. It was probably 30 seconds because each of us felt like we were getting just beaten down with his gaze. And then he walked back in and it was on like Donkey Kong. It's so funny. What I'm talking about. It was just
on the same basketball court, and I think Jeff Strucker, I believe, I can't remember if he was the battalion or the regimental chaplain at the time. By the time I got there, I could not heard that. I could not believe, like, how could they make Satan in charge of leading these guys? But you know what? You think about it now, and then I think about just even Benghazi, Libya. Those guys like that are why I was able to get through that night because of those badass sons of bitches that put us through hell.
Right.
I honestly, I know for a fact there's a lot of times downrange where I wouldn't have made it out of something if I hadn't been intimidated out of my mind. Not beaten down physically, just the sheer intimidation, the hazing with the attitudes of just like, you know what, fuck, this is nothing, dude. I can get through this.
Right.
And I ripped the first. I'll be quite honest with you. Getting to Ranger Battalion, I went through a very bad divorce. It was the first time, and it destroyed me because I grew up not knowing what a divorce was. As far as I knew, families stay together. I was rural America. We don't get divorced. And so I wasn't expecting it. And, and everybody, you guys have seen, hopefully you haven't experienced it, but you guys have seen guys that have had wives that have cheated on them on deployments, and it just completely destroys their world. And that's what happened to me. I was a young guy. I didn't know how to handle it. You're going through immense pressure because I'm a private at Ranger Battalion. And that's pressure enough in the 90s, and I remember I came home and I just, long story short, I tried to kill the guy that she was cheating on me with. And hey, that's a serious either jail or section 8 for terms of a MASH term I'm using. But so that's essentially what it was.
You're saying you failed.
I failed. Oh yeah, I failed miserably. No, I did because I chickened out. Yeah. And I ended up trying to take my own life. Because I was like, Jesus, I'm a terrible failure.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thought she was ready to ambush him.
Yeah.
I had the gun in there, and I couldn't do it. My sister, I remember talking to my sister that night later, but no, again, it's, and really it wasn't, she was like, man, she talked me off the ledge. And then luckily I did have a Ranger buddy that was home on leave, because we were on block leave that time. And I had a buddy that was home. He was the Army buddy at the time. He went to Rangers later. And I called him and I said, hey man, I said, this is what I'm doing. I'm already 3 whiskey bottles in and a bottle of Tylenol in, I need to, and I didn't know Tylenol could kill you.
Yeah.
It shuts down your kidneys. I mean, I was like, I don't know. And, but that was essentially I got back. This is what gave me so much respect for Ranger Battalion, though. I got back to 2nd Ranger. And I had a tremendous captain at the time. You guys probably know it was Captain Pete LaCamera, who is now 3-star General Pete LaCamera. He was my captain. He was my CO.
Is this General LaCamera who just took command of South Korea?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is he was my, again, that's, I look back at my career now, I'm like, that was my CO. How lucky was I to have, holy shit. And I had also First Sergeant Frank Grippy, who was later Command Sergeant Major Grippy, who was my first. Yeah, and I'm still friends. I still talk to Frank. Frank is a Ranger guy, and he always will be.
Yeah,
the dude. I mean, come on. He has, what does he have? 3 mustard stains, and he's been to combat. Even with 10th Mountain, where he was caught in Anaconda, and that was his mortar team. That was fucking. But how I went back and all that hazing, and that I saw it now for what it was. It was a show to see if I wanted there, because when I got back, I was, hey, dude, we love you, man. Come on. I thought I was going to come back and everybody, because I'm an untapped private.
Right.
I thought I was going to get you fucking pussy. You can't handle it. It was nothing that at all. It's like Sergeant Major Grippy or First Sergeant Grippy and Captain LaCamera said, nope, you get your ass in the barracks. Because I was married, I was living off post, which wasn't helping. Now, get your ass in the barracks. We're going to take care of you when you're ready. And they did. They got me, at least my head back right. That was better than any. I had to go see a Army shrink because of what I did. Right. But that was like, holy shit, this is an awesome place. And I was given a choice. I had been there for about a year and a half. I was all at this point. I hadn't gone to school yet. I was about ready to go to school. I was doing well, but even then, even if you're doing well at that time, you're still going to wait a year and a half, 2 years to go to Ranger school, because there's a lot of guys that are doing well. There's not just, and I remember walking into Captain LaCamera's office, hey, for Specialist Paronto reporting, as ordered, sir. And I remember First Sergeant Grippy standing behind him like this. And, Captain goes, Pete goes, hey, Ranger, what do you want to do? Because my wife, of course, I'm buying the bullshit from my wife. We're still married. She said that we'd work it out if I left Ranger Battalion. Now come home, we'll work it out.
Yeah.
I said, sir, my wife said we could work it out if I went home. He goes, Roger that. He goes, so do you want to stay? Because if you want to stay, we will keep you in. You'll be fine, and you'll just keep moving on. You'll go back to, and I was with Sergeant Henderson was my squad leader at the time. He goes, you go back to Henderson's squad, the Herminator. You go back to Sergeant, and you'll be like nothing happened. And I go, no, I want to go home and work on my marriage. And I remember First Sergeant Grippy goes, whoa, yeah, and that was it. Papers were signed, and I was out. And of course, I went home, and it's just, she was cheating with probably 8 guys. No, we're friends now. I gave her a lot. We've let bygones be bygones and have, old wounds, but, it ended up failing anyway. And it was awful, because now I was like, everything that I was going to do, what do I do now? Right. Where do I go? I'm back in Grand Junction, Colorado. I just now this is where the Rangers, and this is where Captain LaCamera or General LaCamera and Sergeant Major Grippy saved me. And this is why I always tell Sergeant Major Grippy, I said, dude, you have no idea. You saved my life. You have no clue. They managed to still get me an honorable discharge. Granted, it had a reentry code of 3, which meant I had to, if I wanted to ever come back in, I had to go get 3 psych evaluations and make sure I was at a good place. But how they got me an honorable discharge, I have no idea. Right. I should know. Maybe a general with honorable conditions, but
or a medical or something. Yeah.
Something. And it saved me because 2 years later, I go back, I met my second wife here that I'm with right now. And I went to grad school because I didn't know what else to do. I took the GRE. I said, well, my parents, they're educators. I can still do that. I don't want to work at a gas station. And that's essentially not knocking guys who work at gas stations, but that's really a dead end street. If you're in a small town, that's what you do, and you're going to be stuck. I took the GRE and I went to my buddy. He came to me and he says, dude, you look rad. We're going to South Padre Island. You want to come? And we drove down to South Padre Island. I took a week, and that's where I met my second wife. Was actually I met her at Louis on the Lake there in South Padre Island is where we met. And she was a volleyball player at University of Nebraska, a very good volleyball player. And that guy's the dancers, the best bodies on women are volleyball players. I'm telling you right now, there's hands down, there's not even close. All that jumping all the time, not even, and their bodies stay the same. My wife's 44, her ass is still up to her neck, which is why she stays with me. That again, those are the heroes of Rangers, or the families and the wives behind or from the men, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, it went well. We got back and I moved.
Hey guys, speaking of balls, I just got a quick read here to do for you guys. It's summer, and Sheath wants to save your sweaty balls. If you're out there with hot, stinky nuts, we're here to tell you that there's a better way, the Sheath way. What's Sheath? They were invented by an Iraqi war veteran on his second tour. The heat was so intense, he thought there had to be a better way to pouch the package in underwear, to keep things separate. Sheath's high-quality boxer briefs are made with moisture-wicking cooling fabrics designed for your man parts to keep cool and separated with patented dual pouch system. The main pouch keeps your balls off your legs, so you don't have that summer, when they stick to the leg.
Stickiness. Yeah.
No more peeling your balls off your thighs. In the dual pouch, the Sheath hole separates the franks from the beans on those especially hot days. The dual pouch keeps everything separate and cool. So, go to sheathunderwear.com and browse their different cooling fabrics perfect for summer months. Sheath can be worn as normal boxer briefs, or you can use the Sheath hole to keep everything separated and extra cool. Not to mention, if you're trying to send out selfies and get some of this post-vaccine summer action, Sheath will make your junk look great. Go to sheathunderwear.com and get the most comfortable underwear you'll ever own, and use the code TEAM20, and you'll get 20% off your order. That's sheathunderwear.com, and use the code TEAM20 for your 20% off.
We talk about balls a lot on this show.
A lot.
And that was a perfect segue because of the getting out from the COVID action, which was kind of like what spring break is in a nutshell, aside from the viruses.
Right.
Well, it's not a COVID virus. There's other viruurs going on there.
But those can usually be cured with a shot of penicillin or whatever.
Yeah, see, that's what I don't know why people worry. Everything can be cured. You're fine.
Chris, can I hit some of viewer questions?
Yeah.
All right, man. Jackson asks, what did you make of Ground Branch, and how much cross-pollination is there between GRS and GB? Did you ever see GRS guys become GB PMOOs or contractors?
There's none. Basically, there's none. There is a little bit of an alpha male thing going on there. There is. I mean, we know each other. We'll use their bases. They may use our stuff every once in a while, or if they don't know an area, we may know it a little bit better. Like cities, GRS generally knows the layouts of cities better than Ground Branch. But Ground Branch is a direct action option unit, so generally they're not be doing a lot in the cities anyway, except for maybe running assets. But then they need us to find out where those assets may be, if there's and that's happened before in Kabul. I'll be honest, where they have needed to do something, an mission in the city, and they didn't know where the asset was located. And I've been to Kabul by that time, I'd say four different deployments. I know the city like the back of my hand, so they were like, "Hey, where's this at? Can you go run and grab this guy?" Sure, we'll go do it. So I shouldn't say any, but it was minimal. And I think just also not just because of the attitudes, because alpha male is a contradiction in terms. We all have the small dick, big dick syndrome working with you regardless of what you're doing. But I think it's just the job is different. It's just a different job. They are DA. They're running assets to go kill guys. We are running assets to protect people. We're running those assets to get information but I shouldn't even say COs are running. We're making sure they don't get killed or kidnapped. So it's a security operation. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen guys, but primarily, no, if you're GRS, you enjoy being GRS. You enjoy the protection element of it.
Right.
You enjoy, what I enjoyed about GRS more than Ground Branch is that if shit went south, kind of like it did, there ain't no assets coming to you. That was what dug me to it. It was the surveillance was cool. During the surveillance, doing the counter surveillance, the taxi cab service protection, that sucked, but that was just part of the job, what you did. But the being able to live within the cities and actually live on the local economy and get to experience the restaurants, and which unless you're a PMO, unless you're like a PMO, not a contractor, but PMO with Ground Branch, generally don't get to do that because they're out in the bush doing their shit.
Right.
What I dug is that Ground Branch generally had, they had, as far as fires went, they had priority of fires. If they needed something, they were going to get it before we did.
Right.
And I actually thought that was kind of cool. Granted, we were less likely to get into a Benghazi than they were. But if we did, it was just us. And that I remember an incident in Kabul where we responded to everybody that needed help. We had freaks for military police, OSI, the NSA guys, the Scorpion guys, Ground Branch too, when they were out running, they were out doing their running assets. And I remember that whenever there was a call on a radio, which was, I won't give the nomenclature out because it is OPSEC. I know I don't like the agency, but I don't want to fuck the guys over that are working. If we got a call on a radio from any unit, whether it was military or paramilitary or whatever, it was awesome. Guys would it was getting cars. You would it was like bees leaving a hive to go find whoever we need to sting. You just see guys shooting out from everywhere. I thought that was really awesome because it didn't matter if we knew or not who you were. It was, they need help. And it was just a radio call and everybody knew what they needed to do in their small little units, the 2-man teams.
Right.
And we did that quite often. There was, I think I did write about one in the Ranger Way, which I thought was really cool, which some military intelligence guys that got hemmed up in town. And it was seeing, because a GRS, the cities better than the locals. I knew every alleyway. I mean, that's your job. And you have to learn that within a couple of days. You've got to learn everything. Quickly. And I remember when we were rolling up to the Afghani National Army guys or Afghani police, whoever they were, NDS guys, I don't know who the hell they were. They were yanking on these military guys' doors, and they were in a nondescript car because they were supposed to be out there running clandestine mission. Obviously, they weren't. You just see Land Cruisers and local Hiluxes and local trucks just coming out of every alleyway. Dude, I still get chills thinking about it because I saw it and I just, our cars are coming out of this alleyway. Another GRS car is coming around out of another alleyway. Then we got 2 GRS cars coming out of the main road, and it's like out of nowhere they're surrounded. And instead of Afghanis jumping out of these trucks, because we're hot, This is a descript mission. We can get out there. People can know who we are because this is a QRF mission. You see all these USA SEALs, Rangers, Marines getting out with their kit on, guns up, and
Soldier of Fortune magazine.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
and just seeing the Afghanis' eyes of it was out of nowhere. It's like, holy shit. That to me, I thought that was really cool. Granted, I have friends that are in Ground Branch and they do a tremendous job. It wasn't for me. That wasn't, but to answer his question, not really. Every once in a while, like I said, if they don't know a location in the city, they'll come ask us, hey, where's this? What's around it? They're doing their necessary planning. They're doing their intel collection. And sometimes they'll have us, hey, you guys know it better, go get them, bring them back. That's very rare because they'd like to run their own assets and they're very capable. A lot of us serve together on the same units, but the missions are completely different.
Right.
And of course we to each other's faces, we're going to talk shit to each other because that's just what alpha males do.
Right.
It's just we do have a respect, and I have a much respect for Ground Branch because, like I said, a lot of those guys I knew from serving with, or being contractors with in the early days on other contracts before it became GRS and ground, when it was like Polar Quest and high threat protection and all this other CPA stuff. The jobs are completely different. Their SAD. Hey, we're support. I know that sucks to say that, but that's what GRS is. We're part of the support element of the agency. Don't think we don't take shit for that. We do, but that's just part of it. But I don't mind it because I loved my job, and I did get to perform in one of the most optimal, challenging circumstances. The no shit you wish never would happen. I got to be in that. And if I would have went to ground branch, I would never have been to. I don't know. I where I needed to go, where we're supposed to go, and I enjoyed it.
The grass is always greener. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also, I mean, it sounds, from what you're saying, it sounds like they're basically the same guys, just
just
with
different
with the same skill sets in a lot of ways, just using them in a different way. But
you know, it is. I mean, I can't say anymore, but I've been out of the game now for 8 years. So maybe it's changed. But the requirements when I was going in was 6 years special ops for both, and that's at the contractor level. Of course, at the PMO level, or if you want to call ours the TL level, the requirements work the same. Why should the guy leading you has to have less requirements than the contractors? But that's just, that's how it goes. Now, granted, GB still, though, at least on their staff side, they were still holding pretty good requirements as far as having to have some special ops background on the GRS side of the house. No, because I worked with the guys that had never been in the military that were in charge of us. Our guy in Benghazi, our TL, our team leader, Roan was our assistant team leader. He wasn't our team, we made him because in the movie we put him as our TL because we had a lot of respect for him, and he was our team leader on the ground. We didn't listen to our TL; we listened to Roan.
Right.
But our TL there in Benghazi had no military. He was a former Secret Service guy that it wasn't even a protection. He did money laundering, and I'll be honest, his actions, and he knows how I feel about him, and so does everybody else. His actions that night were representative of his lack of military, lack of special ops background. I don't think that's talking derogatory about him. It's what he did. It was his actions, and that just showed the difference. So in GRS, if there is a complete difference, the leadership, in my opinion, at least on the staff level, is much higher caliber on ground branch than it is on GRS. But the contractors, no, it's relatively the same. I'm
going to get back to more user questions. I got to get in another read here for you guys. This one, Lucy Nicotine, which is a company that was founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and a cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck. Now, we got this thing. This bad boy was researched and developed for 3 years and made for people, not patients. Lucy was created, they created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in 3 flavors, wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. Lucy also has a lozenger with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in 3 flavors, cherry ice, citrus, and mint. Lucy lozengers and gums are FSA and HSA eligible, so you can use your FSA cards to purchase Lucy now. And it's convenient and discreet. Products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, or even in the gym. It's 2021. Get rid of cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out your dip. Tanto, can you throw out your dip, please?
It's gone, dude. I quit it. I quit my gums. I'm listening to this really hard because my gums are receding. I need to find something else.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, there you go. I mean, honestly, something like this would probably put Copenhagen out of business just because of the effect it would have at Ranger Battalion.
I stopped dipping the day I outprocessed out of the army. Seriously. So get some Lucy nicotine gums or lozengers. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each month. It's so simple, and you don't have to leave your house because Lucy has delivery down. Lucy lozengers and gums are also FSA and HSA eligible, so you can spend pre-tax dollars on them. Team House listeners, go to lucy.com and use...
.co.
Huh?
.co.
Go to lucy.co and use promo code TEAMHOUSE to get 20% off products on your first order, including gum or lozengers. That's lucy.co and use promo code TEAMHOUSE at checkout. Also, I got to give this disclaimer to you guys. This product contains nicotine derived from tobacco. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Lucy.co, and be sure to use that promo code TEAMHOUSE. Okay, more user questions, viewer questions. Are we ready? Jackson wants to know, what were the CAG guys like who helped you dudes on exfil? I guess he's talking about Benghazi.
Yeah.
Do I detect some shade? A little
bit. I'll tell you, hey guys, I'll tell you exactly here's what happened.
Okay.
This is, and you make your own assumptions, you make your own decision, you your own thoughts. They came in with Bub. Bub's team came, Bub's flew in. It was Bub. Glenn's awesome.
Glenn,
I wish they would have portrayed. He was a lot funnier than what he was portrayed in the movie.
He was super funny.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
But the bravado there though, that was spot on. The bravado was right on. I mean the grit. He was humble, but he was tough as fucking. He was tough as nails. But he came in. There were two other GRS operators that came in, the two Delta Force, two CAG guys, the D boys, and then also an interpreter, an actual combat interpreter came in that we had in Tripoli. Well, they all came in. Every one of them, except for Bub, went into what we had Building C is what it was. It was called Building Charlie. That was our main building. It had our talk, had our skiff, had all of our equipment. It had where the chief slept, where the TL slept, where the assistant TL. I mean, that was our command and control building. It also had the most people in it, and it had the most people on top of it. Well, I remember they all walked in because I'm on Alpha, and I did say, guys, hey, welcome to the party. I remember saying it like, hey, fucking better late than never. Welcome to the party, y'all. I was glad to see you. And I was trying to be funny, and all I got was dirty looks from everybody, bunch of sour pusses. But they walked in, and Bub is the only one I saw climb the ladder. It was on the back. I saw him come over the top of the ladder.
Because he wanted to go say hi to Ty, right?
He wanted to say hi to Ty. They were buddies, and he was looking, he was also friends with Jack. That wasn't movie magic. He was friends with both of them. Well, he got up there, and I remember I saw three other silhouettes. So I saw Bub, and I didn't know it was Bub at the time. I didn't know. I just saw a guy get up there, but it was Bub. We've come to find out later, obviously. He was talking to Tyrone. I knew Tyrone was up there because Tyrone was awesome. Tyrone was our medic. He was making rounds. Dude was incredible. If he was a military op, he would have got the Medal of Honor. Easy. But he's out there running around, patching people up, making sure everybody had water, everybody's right. And then he's also taking positions. Well, he's up there, and then I see another guy, which was Oz, and then I saw Dave Ubin, the State Department officer, who actually did it. He did an excellent job that night. He actually and I'm not knocking the state guys. They just didn't do anything except for Dave that I saw. Well, that's when the mortar started to come. Long story short, I did hear the first. It didn't sound like a mortar to this day. I initially thought it was a Katyusha rocket or a 275 because I heard a shh. It didn't sound, but
yeah.
Granted, my hearing was to shit. I never wore hearing protection ever on ops
because of the firefight previously at the embassy.
Yeah,
or the
consulate. And then at our place because Boone had that SR-25, that 308. He was right next to me, right here. We're all night. We're shooting, and I'm shooting. I'm shooting what I can with the 46, and I'm switching to the M4 because the 46 we didn't have a lot of ammo. But it did in the back of my head. It says, "Hey man, was that a mortar?" And I'm talking to myself, and I just went, it was, "Hey, mortars, take cover," not knowing what it was.
Right.
I just what else could it be? Unless the damn ISR is firing on us, but then we would have blew the whole compound up. So that was an impossibility. But anyway. The first one hit, and long story, if you watch the movie, does a pretty fucking good job depicting it because the first one hit, and I remember it blew up, and my night vision went completely white, and I just remember I'm just like, okay, I got to add my fire to what's going on. I saw Tyrone, who had our other machine gun. He did go cyclic and it wasn't daytime. The movie shows it as daytime. It was. Is it before BMNT? Is that what it is? Before morning nautical twilight? I should know this from our damn Ranger handbook, reading it enough times. But we still are not.
You're old. We forgive you.
Okay, sorry. If it was EMT or BNMT, I always get the two.
Robert Rogers won't forgive you, but we will.
you. Thank you. Well, I did say, hey, Don's when the French and Indians attacked. That wasn't movie magic. I actually did say that shit.
That's right.
That is one thing I did. Robert Rogers standing orders in the Ranger. I did in my head. That's funny because I didn't remember.
Stand 2, right? Stand 2.
Stand 2.
Yeah.
Because I was like, here's the sun's coming up. This was right before the mortars hit.
Yeah.
And he spun. He held that trigger down. He went cyclic, and all I'm seeing, night vision, I'm just seeing it's like laser beam. Just and everybody lights up, and the first one hit about 10 meters off a backside of Building C. I'm shooting over their heads because I want to shoot something. God damn it! It's the 5th firefight that we're not. But I'm thinking, okay, wait a second. Look behind you, idiot. Who's got the 6? Well, you do. Go make sure they're not overrunning the compound, because I'm thinking, well, if we brought mortars in, we'd be walking guys from the mortars, not into the mortars. But again, we're fighting terrorists, so who knows what their mindset is. But I'm looking, thinking, okay, let's make sure nobody's overrunning our walls. Nobody was there. I turn around, I look again, another one hits, boom. I see a guy disappear. My night vision goes white. So I'm watching the mortars hit, which again, to me, is just incredible. I was able to experience that, because who gets to actually and consciously watch it? I know what's going on. It's not like where people, it's just a flash of light. It was, I didn't know what was going on. It was over. No, I'm taking this all in. It was amazing just being able to actually take it all in. Boom. I take a few other shots, guys out. It was Dave. Dave shrapnel had ripped through his leg and his arm. I turn around again to make sure nobody's overrunning our 6, because I got our 6. I'm on alpha. And then I turn around again. I see a boom, boom, boom. I see fire for effect. The typical, hey, bam, 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 3 real quick. And as my night vision comes back after the overabundance of light, I don't see anybody, but I just see the debris raining down. It's charged a bit, whatever, particles, dust, and it's all heated. And it does. I put my head down and I went, man, we can't beat this. I was saying this to myself. We don't have any air support. And I did. I'm a man of faith. I'm a terrible Christian, but I am. And I do believe this. People say, was it God or not? Well, to me, it was. God said, get your gun up, Ranger. And I know that sounds poetic. I know that sounds cheesy. I don't give a shit. That's what I heard. And I just threw a few more rounds downrange. And Jack was in a great position. Boone was in a great position. I was not. But they kept fighting. And I guess they got the damage done. I did see the team that brought Bub's team in, the team that I thought was running away. I heard tires screeching out where the mortars were coming from. I heard some gunshots. There was a gunfight going on. What had happened is their leader had got caught into Building C. So when the mortars were hitting, he was calling them, hey, fucking, I'm getting decimated. And we got lucky. We just got lucky. They took the mortar team out for us. They ran them off, or they would have just obliterated our compound. Well, I remember Tig got up on the roof first. I don't give a shit what people say, what the military says, what the army says. I saw it. He gets up on there. He sees what's going on first. He goes, I need some help up here. I need help. Crickets. Me and Boone and Jack are still holding positions. We're still waiting for them to fucking crush us.
Right.
And he's like, I need some fucking help up here now. And that's when Boone says, oh, gotcha, I'm coming. I said, Boone, you got a better sector. I'll get down. I'll go help. And that's what we hear finally. And this was, again, it seemed like 5 minutes. I think it was 5 minutes. Maybe it was 2, 3. It was entirely too fucking long. And I said, Boone, I'll go. You got a better position. And then finally, somebody from inside Building C, I thought it was, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was the Delta guys. Maybe it was our team leader that were in Building C during all this, says, we'll go help. We're getting up there to help. And it really was. To me, it was like, what the hell are you waiting on? In my head, I'm going, we got to beg you guys to get out. First of all, you didn't come up to the rooftops. I actually asked for relief. I had to take a shit. That's actually when I had to take a shit, too. I was like, guys, and that's when I actually shimmied down this ladder, and before the mortars hit, took a shit and jumped back up. I was like, guys, I need a break. Couldn't get anybody to come help me on the roof. Couldn't get anybody to give us any kind of breaks. So Ron was still running around giving water out before the attack. I mean, all this is happening within minutes before the attack, that last attack. And then, to me, it was like, Jesus. And to insult to injury, we can't even get any of you in that building to come up on the rooftop to fucking help out. We got injured guys. I didn't know how bad it was. I knew it was pretty damn bad because I watched my team get vaporized before my eyes.
Right.
That's why it rubs me the wrong way. That's why it always pissed me off. And that's why initially I spoke out really hard against it, and then I stopped because it wasn't doing any good. We were arguing amongst ourselves, and I have respect. I do. I know a lot of guys that went to Delta. Sergeant Wheeler he was Bravo Company with me over there. I was going to be his team leader before I got stupid and went full on retard and got commissioned. He asked me to be his team leader when he was going to get a squad. Those guys are outstanding. They do amazing things. They're warriors. But again, it's a little different when you have a Spectre or a Ranger platoon or somebody else backing you up than when you don't have anybody. And I saw that difference too. I learned that. And it was pissing me off because we actually had to yell at them in the radios. Hey, get the fuck up there and help. We need help, And they did. They got up there. They did. They got Dave's body on a makeshift, I don't know what you call stretcher. They basically strapped him up like a backpack and carried him down. They helped. Ted got the tourniquets on first. They helped with the tourniquets. Oz actually climbed down on his own. They didn't help him. Me and Oz don't get along. We don't like each other very much. But I have the ultimate respect for that guy's toughness. That dude is one of the toughest sons of bitches he is. He's tougher than nails, dude. He climbed down the ladder by himself. I remember just hearing him just every ladder rung he took. It was like he was in just fucking pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he slipped once too on the blood. He was bleeding so bad on it. And he caught himself with his one arm. And I even remember, because I'm pulling security out and I hear this, I never heard a man groan in that much pain before. It was just weird. And I turned to look, and as I'm looking, he's going into building C. He's walking his own ass in there. Like, well, fuck, that's a badass son of a bitch right there. Well, they get Dave's off there because Dave couldn't, because he was arms and legs, on one arm on the, and it's like, well, that's good. It's over, And then finally, towards the end of the night, and the movie does a very good job showing that militia coming to rescue us, the Gaddafi's guys, which is sort of ironic. I think I still laugh at that now, even more so to this day. Gaddafi's militia coming in. Tig's like, hey, we got to still get Rowan and Bub. They're still up on the rooftops. And we're all joining. Okay, let's figure out a way we're going to lower them down. Because Rowan had that tire that he would pull that tire around. So we're going to go get that tire tubular nylon thing that he pulled the tire on for PT and, do the harness, the PJ Coast Guard pararescue harness and lower them down. And I just remember thinking that, and then we look up and there's the D-boys pushing them off. And I used to talk about it a lot because it really angered me because, I'll tell it on the show and it's okay. I'm not mad at them. I'm not upset at them. They're badasses. Delta, I know they did awesome missions out there. It's just for some reason that night, something went wrong or they did what they thought they needed to do. And in my eyes, it wasn't right, but I saw Roan hit.
That's traumatizing any way you cut it. That was your boy, and now you're seeing him thrown off a rooftop. And maybe that was the pragmatic thing to do, but it's still hard to see that.
Well, why it bothered me is because the attacks had stopped now. We actually had a perimeter now. We had a perimeter surrounding us. We weren't going to get hit again, at least in my eyes. Maybe they thought we were because they had really just gotten there a couple hours prior. What bothered me, if we were under fire, gotcha. Makes sense. We're under fire. We're taking heavy fire. We got to get the fuck out of there. Let's just get them down. We were safe. As my eyes, we were like, oh, dude, we got the mortar team. And it did. And then they dropped Bub down and Bub hit a bush. And as good as I do, those bushes, I don't care if you're North Africa or the Middle East, those things don't give. And he didn't have his armor on because Tig had taken it off. It sliced him open. So when he hit it, so when people ask me about Delta and that, I have much respect for them because that's the pinnacle, and that still is the pinnacle. You go into counterterrorism, you go into special ops, that's where you go, man. There's no higher than that, and I still know that. But it's against each, which I wasn't going to let happen a little bit. Wait a second, stop. You guys are on the team. I saw those initial articles, even on military.com, that came out. Delta comes in and saves. I was like, Jesus, no, they didn't save us. They didn't fire around. Maybe they made I don't know, maybe they were doing great calls inside. I don't know what was going on in Building C. They got awarded like the Navy Cross. The other one got the Defense Service Medal. Great. Awards are fantastic. And that was where I finally, it bothers me to talk about a little bit. Well, it does. Obviously, you can tell it bothers me, but it doesn't bother me that, hey, I'm going to take these guys down sort of way anymore. It's just, hey, this is what happened. There's nothing to take down. I think they thought they were doing the right thing. You're right, pragmatic. They thought they were doing the right thing, brother. And to my eyes, like, I don't think it was. But let's leave it at that. War's hell. What are you going to do?
And it was personal to you, and it was raw to you.
Yeah.
And it's...
Yeah.
And these were two dudes who just showed up, and they were like, we got to deal with this issue. And you were seeing, to you, these were like your friends up until a second ago when they were killed.
Yeah. And that's why again, I for whoever asked that question, don't hate Delta and don't think I'm sore about it. I'm not. It's what happened. Worse hell. Of course it's going to affect me, and it always will. But I signed up for this shit. And if I see those guys ever again, I've met their commanding officers and stuff, and I've never said anything. No, and I have nothing to say bad about them. I was like, hey, this just happened. And I know there's guys probably within CAG. I know there's the younger guys within CAG. Some of them don't like me. Then some of the older guys do. Like, hey, he spoke out against what you guys. But in my eyes, it's what happened. It's what happened, man. Yeah, and I know you guys, if we were in a gunfight again, I know you'd have my back. So let's water under the bridge and let it go. And I do want people to know about it, because I want them also to know it's not just all glorious and gunfights and this and that. There's other shit that goes on. That's what bothers you. It's not shooting somebody. It's watching something like that happen, because that was unexpected.
Right.
Jerry says, I never worked as a contractor. Many friends do in Syria and South Africa. As former intel, I was afraid I'd end up with some lunatics. How do you handle that? Rangers lead the way. I guess he's asking, like, are you ever afraid you're going to end up with lunatics on your team as a contractor?
As we saw that from 2003 when I started till the end, and you guys know as good as I do, the requirements start to go down, because as a contractor, you got to fill numbers, right? Mm-hmm. You know that. Mm-hmm. And you can't, there's only so many 6-year special ops guys out there. Then there's so many 3-year special ops guys out there. Then there's so many 1-year infantry guys out there. Then it's, hey, did you drive a car down Baghdad one time, BIOP one time? Yeah, I did. Or then it goes to, did you sign your name correct? I mean, it gets that you can only pick by so many guys. And so, I think I do sell buddies that are in GRS. I haven't been in GRS in 7 years. I haven't been in anything in 7 years, but the standards continue to be lowered.
Right.
And whenever you lower the standards, I wouldn't call them lunatics, but you're going to get substandard individuals that we didn't have as much of in the beginning. And that's just the nature of the beast, brother. That's corporations. That's big money. That's the conglomerate, Triple Canopy, Blackwater, DynCorp, whatever the hell they're calling. Say, we can get 1 million guys.
Yeah.
Do we have 1 million guys?
Right.
No, we don't. Okay, how do we get there?
Right.
The good old days. Us guys, we talk about the good old days, but they really were the good old days because the numbers were smaller. You could maintain a standard. Yes, we did have some lunatics that were bloodlust thirsty, but we handled them within ourselves.
Right.
But now it's just, I wouldn't call them lunatics. I would just say you probably have guys that aren't the standard that they need to be, as far as just tactics, or even that you get to the mental standards of, like I said, looking at you guys, people, David and Jack, you guys are Rangers and you're free thinkers, you're smart, you really do think outside the box. I think we've lost a lot of that over the years in our checklist society. And
I just say, pro tip for all of you out there: if any contract agency says we can get you 100 ex-special forces guys tomorrow, that should send up all kinds of red flags. You should be a little suspicious about that kind of claim.
There
you go. Actually, Jack said it better than I did, and he said it simpler. So there you go, man. Right there.
I also imagine, though, especially in the early days, especially for security type, that you have a lot of like peacetime soft guys who spent all that time in special operations.
Wanted to get it on.
And they want to get their kill on. I mean, that might sound really horrible.
No.
But when you spent, there's nothing worse than a frustrated soft operator who never got to go to war, who trained for all that time and never got to go to war. And now they go to war, but they're in more of a security position.
Yeah.
And maybe they're a little hot on the trigger because
no, you're right.
Because
you're right.
Because they want it, And
you're right.
And we are. And look, I think that most soft guys want to get blooded. Like we want, that's why we were there. We want to get blooded. And you put them in a situation where, anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're spot on. I saw it both ways, but that's also where you go. You guys, do you want to go GRS or do you want to go ground branch? Yeah.
Right.
Do you want to get bladed up? Do DA, get the ground branch. It's a different mindset. You want to do security. You want to sneak around. You want to do surveillance. Then you go to GRS and and that's what I had. We had the options but you're spot on, brother. There was a mindset. We would get, the guys with the sleeve tats down to here, the Valhalla is, whatever. No, I don't want you for GRS. You don't fit here, buddy. Go do a State Department contract. Go over there. We want the nondescript, just the guys that are, hey man, I'm just here I hope I don't get into shit. But if I do, we're gonna kick the living shit out of you. The switch is like the Battalion Pie. The switch is on, motherfucker. Right. But I don't want to turn it on. Right. That's what you wanted at GRS. Where if you wanted to do that other stuff, then go do another contract. Now I don't know if that's the way, but back then there were those options.
Right.
And you could go do hey, go work for Custer Battles. They'll throw you in the middle of shit with one bullet. You want to get into it.
Yeah, with a rusty AK and two magazines that you don't know if they work or not.
And a mag light taped to the AK with 100-mile-an-hour tape.
Yeah, Custer Battles, man. I forgot about those guys. But real quick, just and what you're talking about, I think, especially in the movie and in the book, but especially in the movie, is really displayed by you at the meet with the arms deal where, the agency wants to follow these dudes. So you guys are doing the arms deal and everything's tense and you're kind of like shocked, bro. You're not like,
well, what else could you, and that wasn't just from there. It was from learning that from, like I said, I've been doing it for how long at that time? That was just wisdom. I love knowledge. Knowledge is great. Quantitative analysis is fun and getting the book smarts and all that. But learning and the qualitative analysis, the qualitative learning, the wisdom that comes from just making the mistakes and then figuring out, wait a second, these aren't just savage. No, they're not savages. They just want to be treated okay. How do we treat them? How do we kind of talk to them? I can't speak to them. What are they doing out there? And I learned it from the Sudanese. I didn't learn this from a Hawaiian. Sudanese. He's like, hey, Jumbo Tano. And when I was in Mosul working. I was like, what the hell does that mean? He's like, because I thought he was like, hey, right. He's like, no, it means good morning, because it is. It officially means good. And for any of you guys, if you don't think Jumbo's real, watch Madagascar 3. They actually, and they had those same shirts downrange. I wish I'd have bought one. They have Jumbo right here. It means good morning. That's what officially, and it was started in Tunis and West Africa. But it just had morphed because of pop culture, because of movies, because of the Shaka, the surfer thing.
Yeah.
It really, to everybody now, just means, hey man, be cool. And me, it was, hey, are you cool, dude?
Yeah,
Don't pull that trigger. I don't want to. This could end badly, and we all are going to get shot. So hey,
right.
But it was me. That was also me, and that was what Tanto. And I say Tanto in the third person, but that was what Tanto really was working. It was that goofy. Hey man, let's just have some fucking fun,
right.
And let's enjoy it. Smile. Hey, we may get in a gunfight, but why don't we smile before we start it? And do you understand? And it was. I did remember throwing that up, and they did. He's just and they do it. They know how to do the chin, just like everybody else. It's just hey,
right.
All right, we're good, we're cool. And that was just again the learning of when you're working overseas, and that came from the lineage of what we started with the origins of just learning from other people, learning from other cultures, playing baseball with wetbacks was a great learning what other cultures were, and they just were like, there's no difference. Maybe we don't speak the same language, but baseball, man, we get along, and I know how to deal with people, and I know how that we can figure out a way to communicate. If it didn't start there, it sure as hell wouldn't have transgressed all the way to that point in time. And then I just got better at it. I have to. And overseas or situations, That's why I loved Ranger Battalion. As much as they had some sort of indoctrination, had the regimental stuff, the discipline. At least I had squadrons that still had me think outside. Fucking figure it out, dude. It was, do what you're told. Well, you didn't tell me how to do it then. Well, then you better fucking figure it out. It's like, that's the option? You're telling me, but then you're not telling me how to do something, so I do it wrong. So you're just telling me now I can think on my own? And it was that back and forth that it really helped me when I got to the agency in GRS, because it was, all right, I got to figure this out on my own, because the agency doesn't know what the hell their head from their asshole as much as they should. And the guys that are coming before me, some of them are teaching me great. Some of them aren't teaching me shit. All right, let's figure this out. And it was making errors and living through those errors, but then remembering what we're getting. A lot of times, as good as I do, guys, sometimes being lucky is better than being good.
Yeah.
And I got lucky a hell of a lot.
All right. Richard, thank you. What else do we have here? Andrew asks, can Tanto Paronto recommend a pair of sunglasses that enhance clarity and boost color? I'm really looking for a pair.
Where are they? Damn it. I knew I should have had them. Man. Okay, guys. I still love that commercial. I don't give a shit what you say, you sons of bitches. I love that damn commercial. Even though I've only watched parts of it, just because I'm still on to this day. It's still on in shows. And guys, they are the best range glasses I've ever had. I still wear them at the range, and boy, and when I leave them at the range, I'm not pissed off that I lost a pair of $20 glasses. That's like when I used to leave my Oakleys at the range.
Right.
No, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Kris, throw it up there, man. Where can people get these amazing sunglasses? Come on.
Actually,
don't hold out.
You can get them. You just got to go search HD Vision. They're still sold by HD Vision. And for all you guys that don't know, that company, they actually are the Copper Fit people. Idea Village is. Oh, cool. They have. If you look at Idea Village, they have done Copper Fit. They do all those non-stick pans, and it's just, but that was so fun doing that commercial in the middle of the heat desert in Las Vegas. I still get. That was a fantastic experience.
I'm Kris Tanto Paronto, and I loved it. That's awesome.
The only thing we had to change, I don't know people, if you watch the first few commercials, it said Special Forces. Civilians don't get that. They don't understand. I remember a couple of my buddies, because I wasn't long tapped. I actually got picked up on the ODA because they didn't have enough guys. And then I knew more about, it's amazing how much we learn at Ranger Battalion and we don't think we do. I knew more about weapons than our Bravos did. So I stayed on the ODA. But I remember, and an SF guy, a troll it's amazing that as alpha males, we're still trolls on all the damn social media.
Sure.
A troll, he said, "Oh, you weren't fucking SF." And I said, "You're right, I wasn't. Who says I was?" And then he shows the commercial. And I remember I called the lady, I said, "Hey, I know it doesn't mean a lot to you guys, but it means a hell of a lot to you."
I get it.
And I said, "You got to change it." And they did in their defense. And then I talked to this guy offline, and the team I served with, he had served with 3 of those guys on his 10th group team. So we actually became friends. But he was like stolen valor, sons of. I was like, fuck no. So Ranger Battalion was a hell of a lot harder than being a group. You got to kiss my. We're going back and forth, and then it's at the end of the day. It's like 2 guys getting in a fist fight, and then at the end of the day, going, "Hey, man, I love you, man.
Fuck you. No, fuck you."
That's exactly. Yeah, it's great.
Jameson says, "Hey, Kris, I work at the largest dam in the U.S., and we're planning to have about 120 Rangers come plan and perform an opposition raid on the dam. Want to come play at the dam?"
No, because I'm old, and I love being home, and I like sleeping in till 10 a.m. every morning. But thank you for the offer.
Samuel donated $250 to the channel tonight. That's pretty baller. He says, "Great show y'all put together with great guests. Alana Duffy's story on the reunion struck me. Thank you. That was the last episode. One of my close family members was hit by an EFP in Iraq 2008, and he didn't do the amputation, but he's now going through it. I subscribed, so having fun with this. Cheers."
Thanks.
Samuel,
those EFPs were a fucking nightmare.
Man, I still, those things, I mean, they're fucking platter charges. I mean, you look at unbelievable. I still have, and I know you guys, because of who you are and because you guys think how you do, I still have the utmost respect for, I don't like terrorists. I think terrorists are scum of the earth, but I have utmost respect for their capabilities and the things they use at their disposal. I mean, Jesus.
Oh, they're resourceful. So for our viewers who don't know, an IED is obviously an improvised explosive device, which could be anything that is used to explode. Well, when the military started using these South African designed vehicles that had these sort of V-shaped holes that would disperse the blast of IEDs to protect troops, actually Soleimani and Iran started facilitating the import and creation of these, is it explosively formed projectiles or like explosively formed projectiles, which would shoot basically molten metal.
It was putting a copper, just like a platter charge. It was putting a copper piece over the explosion. So when the explosion was so hot, it would heat that, turn it into molten lava, that it would puncture whatever armor. I mean, it would puncture Abrams armor. Yeah. It would puncture the armor, and then of course when it got through, it would cool, and then it would turn into. Eventually, you're going to get hit by hot molten lava, or it's going to cool and now turn back into a steel. A copper piece, and it's going to go through you.
So with two buddies, with the EFPs, the thing is the death tolls weren't super high, but the amputation rates, because it would come through like a rod, the amputation rates were insane.
It was, and the way they were putting them, I remember putting them. Now they're putting them in the plumbing tubes, so they were actually putting a help me out,
like a shape charge,
guys.
A shape charge, basically.
A shape charge. Yeah, they're making shape charges in the streets with a guy. I had never been so nervous in my life when that started happening. You're going by sewer outlets. Yeah, and you're just like, holy shit, is this the time? Yeah, didn't matter how much armor you had on you. Yeah, that was a definite game changer on their end. It did change tactics. Yeah. Quite a bit, because you're right. The severity of the injuries, and I mean, explosions are bad enough as it is. But seeing a guy hit by molten lava, oh my lord!
Lassick asks, whatever happened to Henry Amal, the translator?
Dude, we had a lot of brave acts that went on. He was the bravest little son of a bitch ever. He did, because he was. We have different levels of interpreters. You have combat terps, and you have linguists. He was a linguist. He was not bred to go out with guys. And actually, long story short, anyway, he actually has a citizenship. Right. He's still working for the agency. I don't know in what capacity. Granted, this is the last I heard. This has been a few years. He did testify, and all the testifying he did, and he's the one that I didn't even again. The militia that came to help us, and the militia that brought Bub's team in, that was Gaddafi's militia. They were Gaddafi's loyalists. I didn't know they were till he testified. He's the one that actually got him on the phone. And so if anybody saved us that night, it's freaking Amal.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And he didn't look like that in the movie though. He looked like Bob Newhart. No shit. He looked like an Egyptian Bob Newhart, the older version of Bob Newhart. No, bless you.
Excuse me.
It was having Bob Newhart basically shitting his pants with his eyes about this big all night is something, again, that I will always remember, and it's a treasure, because he really was, and he did take I was like, hey, Tanto, I'm not a combat trooper, I'm not weapons qualified. I said, you are now. Yeah. And taking my gun, again, it's just another experience that I'm glad I got to go through, man. All the shit that went through, I miss that. I miss guys like that he wasn't trained, and he still just did. He did what he had to do.
He rogered up.
To me, that shows the human spirit, and he wasn't the age that he should have been doing that either. Right. Amazing, man. That's a great question. It brings a smile on my face whenever I talk about him, because it's like, man, we train to do stuff like this. This is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. He was just a guy that manned up. Yeah, that's cool.
He rogered up.
So, Kris, you are out of Ranger Battalion. You're out of the Army. Oh, you meet your future wife in South Padre. You go back to Grand Junction.
I did, and that's when I took the GRE and then started looking for grad schools. I did well in the GRE, and that point, I knew I didn't want to stay in Grand Junction. I knew I didn't want to stay in Colorado. I wanted to go someplace that I'd never been. I'd been to the West Coast. I've been to the East Coast. I've been to Florida. I've been to Texas, been to Washington. I'd never been to the Midwest. And well, hey, look at the girl I met in South Padre. She's playing volleyball at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Well, fuck. Yeah, what a coincidence. Why don't I apply there? And I still had the thinkings at the time of my ignorance and my naivety days of me wanting to be a Fed at some point, which I'm glad I never went that route. Wow. I dodged a bullet there. But I applied for a criminology at several colleges, a graduate program in criminal justice. And I was accepted at I got accepted at University of Nebraska in Omaha for their master's program. And it's like, well, I know Tanya, I know her. Well, fuck it, let's go. And it was just not knowing anybody, not having a job. I had a huge hernia from Ranger Battalion because we did a JRX, joint readiness exercise at Fort Bragg, and my chute was too tight on the jump in, and so I caused a double hernia. But I didn't let anybody know, and but I'm like, fuck it, I got to get out of here. I got to leave. I packed up my Ford Bronco 2 and drove from Grand Junction to Omaha, and I asked her to find me a place to live that was cheap. She found me a place in the ghetto of Omaha on 38th Street, overlooking the Mutual of Omaha headquarter building, which is near down. It was $100 a month for rent in a house. I had no air conditioning, and it's like, screw it. I just started over. Just wiped the slate clean. Okay, let's start over. And I moved down there, and those 2 years I got my graduate degree, but I always knew, again, from my mom and my dad and my grandfather, it was, you don't quit anything. We don't quit. We don't ask for handouts. We don't quit. And I felt like I had quit Ranger Battalion. And so for those 2 years, I got my master's degree. I took a full-time job at Mutual of Omaha, actually, and started to become an insurance adjuster. So if you watch the movie where the chief rags on me, that's true. They would make fun of me. I'm like, oh, fucking, I should go be an insurance adjuster. And that actually happened. But I learned how to be an insurance adjuster. But all that time frame, I was every day trying to find a recruiter that would put me back in. And it was hard. I had an RE code of 3, which I didn't know. It was difficult. And I had to go to recruiter to after recruiter to after recruiter. And finally, after I got my master's, and I was like, well, I got to find a way to get in. I didn't know it for 2 years. I had no idea. There was a U.S. Army command, a recruiting command that was a block from my street. How I didn't know it was there, I can't tell. I don't know. Or maybe it just popped up. I just never saw it. But I remember I was like, fuck it. I had 3 recruiters tell me no, it was going to be too hard to get back in. It's like, your waiver is going to be a bear. It's going to take forever. No, we're not going to help you. Yeah, recruiter, thanks. Right. For doing your job. I walked down to the recruiting command, and the sergeant major was there that day. And I said, Sergeant Major, you have guys that don't want to go in the service. You have guys that want to get out. I said, I am trying to get in. I said, I've been through airborne school. Here's my 201 file. Yes, I had a hiccup. Here's what happened. But I said, I want to do this. And he said, Roger, okay. He says, this is what you need to do. Go get me 3 behavioral wellness, basically psychological reviews. Go see 3 psychiatrists, get their thumbs up that you're okay, bring it back to me. I'll send you to the recruiting office. And I did. I got them done within a week. 3 different recruiters, everyone, clean bill of health. He's good. I'm feeling much better now. Right. And I went to the recruiter and I laid it on his desk and I said, hey, and I had the signature from the sergeant major there, the Nebraska Recruiting Command Sergeant Major. And he goes, okay, you've been out for 3 years though, because it was going on 3 years. Because after those 2 years of getting a master's degree, it took me another year just to work on getting back in. And I'm still seeing my wife. We're tight now. We've been dating for 3 years. So everything's going great on that end. My current wife. And he goes, all right, but you got to do it all over again. And at that point, I was like, shit, I don't care. I was in such good shape. I knew what to expect. That's all I did was work out and work and work out and work. and I was at the age now, have sex with my wife, work, which is kind of a workout anyway, because you're at that age where you're having fun, and I love her to death. And the sex is good because, again, her ass is up to her neck. So it turns me on all the time. But it got to where I was like, screw it. Fine. Send me. I don't give a shit. He goes, well, we can't give you 11 Bravo because it looks like you've got a problem with your back now. It's like, are you shitting me? I said, well, okay, then make me 91 Bravo. I'll go 91 Bravo. He goes, yeah, we can do that because they're training 91 Bravos at Fort Benning because it's not just an infantry basic training. So I signed up for 91 Bravo. I got on the plane. I knew what the games were going to be, so I was ready for it. But I got the 30th AG, and the head drill sergeant at 30th AG was looking at my records. He pulled me and goes, hey, I want to talk to you. Come in here. It's like, Roger, Sergeant. Roger Drill Sergeant, what do you want? Respectfully, of course, I'm doing it respectfully. They hadn't introduced stress cards yet, so it wasn't that easy yet. So no stress cards. But he goes, I see that you were at Ranger Battalion before. He goes, now you're a 91 Bravo. He goes, what the fuck do you want to be a 91 Bravo for? He goes, do you not want your blue cord again? I'm like, Drill Sergeant, it's not my decision. I'm locked up. I'm going, holy shit. I'm like, Drill Sergeant, it's not my decision. I didn't make that decision. He goes, go see the TMC medic. He's a former 1st Special Forces Group guy. He's a surgeon now. He's going to get you changed, and he's going to give you picket fences. The picket fences. I said, Roger that. And I mean, it's, again, to me, I really do. The paths that I've been on, they were laid. I really do feel there are coincidences, but I also feel there is a path that you can go on if you choose it.
Right.
So that path was there. Now I could have said no. I said no. I'm gonna go to Fort Sam. I'm gonna go hang out with the nurses and I'm gonna have an easy life.
Right.
No, fuck that. But I was like, no, I want my blue cord, and now I'm super amped up because blue cord. And I went and saw the surgeon who was was long tabber, got his long tab on. Again, I'm back in an element where I'm around you know as good when you go in. You guys know as good as I do. I'm around Rangers now again. I'm around SF. And I'm still a fire breather. I've still got that energy in me. I still want to go kick ass, take names, and be like John Wayne and be, I'm motivated. And I'm in such good shape. And I know their fuck games aren't going to mess with me because I'm already expecting them. And I went to at 1st and 50th. They shipped us down. And I was disappointed. The Army had changed so much in that 3.5, 4 years. One guy had his Ranger tab. When I went through basic training the first time, every drill instructor, including the captain, the CO, had a Ranger tab had been to Ranger Battalion. Not all of them had been to Ranger Battalion, but either one had been to school, except for one, who was my drill sergeant Harney, but he had also been the head of the guards of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So, right. I think that's pretty, he was an honor guard, maybe not a Ranger tab, but he had his honor guard. He was the head guy at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier as an E7.
Right. Which is a really tough job to get. And very hard job to keep. Like, it's a very hard job.
That is. And that's discipline to the utmost. Yeah. And I love that guy, that first time. Drill Sergeant Harney, even though he looked like Satan. That guy was tremendous.
So real quick, just to catch people up. So in 11 Bravo, which you were, and they told you couldn't be again, is infantry. 91 Bravo is medic.
Infantry is the Army, by the way, just to point that out.
Yeah. And
infantry,
it needs to be pointed out on every podcast, really.
And when he talks about the blue cord, the 11 Bravos, the infantry they wear a blue cord on one of the sides, which is the infantry. It's a thing.
It's just it's your mark. It says, and it is. You got good. It's important,
right?
Because you do earn that, and you do feel well. At least at that time, I still think it is. I still respect the guys that came before me, the Battle of the Bulge, the guys from damn Hamburger Hill. I mean, that's to me, that's what that blue cord represents. Those guys, not what just, but. It was disappointing because, long story short, it wasn't as hard, and it wasn't. The standards had dropped. The drills, they couldn't lay their hands on you anymore. Going from that, where the drill sergeant Charles basically launched the kid into Jupiter, right, to now they can't. And you could tell it was easier. And granted, it was going to be easier for me regardless because I already knew what to expect. And I was in great shape. I knew what I was getting into. And that's half the battle. You can mentally mind fuck yourself more than your body can take. Your body can take so much pain. You're going to quit up here before your body ever quits, for the most part. Losing limbs and stuff. Yeah, I get you, trolls. Yeah, if you lose it, there's something there that I get it. But it really was easier. And the drill sergeants, I was really shocked to not see drill sergeants that were at least tabbed. And I think as an infantry guy, if you're going to teach infantry tactics, then you should go to the leading infantry school of the U.S. Army. It should be a requirement. There shouldn't be maybe a asterisk here for the honor guard or something else, which is completely hugely disciplined. That's even more so than Ranger School discipline. Yeah. But it was very easy. Went through it. It was a piece of cake. I only had to do the last week of jump school, just jump week. Basically, go throw yourself out the 40-foot tower. Okay, go put a chute on. Go jump out of the plane. Yeah, gotcha. Easy. And then I went back to RIP, and no, RIP was still hard. RIP was still a kick in the nuts. The only difference was two of the RIP techs that were there, the RIP instructors, I had been through RIP before with. I knew. So they were like, "What the fuck are you doing back here?"
Right.
Yeah, they're like, and so the mind game wasn't there. The physical, it was still physically hard. Now again, I was ready for it, but the mind fuck, it's like, all right, just play the game. Just fucking play the game. And I went back to 2nd Ranger Battalion, and no, I did very well. It was weird. I just went back to the same company, went back to Bravo Company. I went to a different platoon.
That's really cool.
But what was amazing is that in that basic training class, first 50th, I look back at it now. We had some all-stars in there at the time. Leroy Petrie was in my company.
Oh wow.
A guy named Chris Voss, who is a BORTAC agent that took out the two. It was about 5 or 6 years, or maybe a little bit longer. But when there were two fugitives up in the Northeast that were loose, and they said a federal agency took them out.
Yeah, I remember this.
It was the BORTACs. That's an unknown. If you ever want to go to the feds, you want to go to an actual TAC team that's fucking incredible. Check out the Border Patrol TAC teams, the BORTAC teams. Those guys are incredible. But he took those guys. I mean, he actually had a name for himself in the community there. And then we had another couple rank guys that went to Ranger Battalion that did amazing things on the first initial push in OEF. It was just thinking now, looking back, like, man, we had some all-stars in that basic training class. But then going through RIP, it was close. They were trying to get me to go to Ranger School right out of RIP. Because it just was. If you guys went through it again, they would have done the same. I mean, you're heads and shoulders above everybody else. You know what to do. You know this tactics. You've already been around. Sergeant Major Roberts, Hugh, who was my regimental battalion sergeant major at the time, who became the RSM. Again, another all-star, tremendous Ranger legend that I was able to learn and watch from. He says, "No, bring that sumbitch over here. He ain't going anywhere. No, you get him to 2nd Ranger Battalion. We'll figure it out over here." And because Sergeant Sansone, who was one of my RIP cadre, he was trying to get me to be able to go to Ranger School right out of RIP, out of that 2nd RIP. And Sergeant Major Roberts wouldn't have none of it, which is, I'm glad he did. I shouldn't have let me slide. I got to do what everybody else does. Went back to Bravo. 3rd Platoon was with another tremendous platoon sergeant, Sergeant First Class Rothke, who was named Sergeant Major Peter Rothke. He was, he finished 2nd in Best Ranger competition back in the day. Dude was incredible, just hard as nails. Hey bud, what the fuck you doing, bud? I just remember the bud. Bye, bud. It's like, Jesus, here comes. But that's where the actual chubbing came from. We changed it in the movie to Ranger School Beret. I don't know why we did, but it was actually Sergeant Major Rothke, who was Sergeant Rothke, Sergeant First Class, Platoon Sergeant Rothke. He's the one that would leave his beret all the time. And I was on the Toads. My squad was the War Toads when I first got in. We're the ones that would always find his beret and rub our dicks on it. So that's where that came from. They said, we got to put that in the movie somehow.
The chubbing was infamous. Like when your squad leader or team leader asked you to like a donut from the chow hall, and the guys would fuck the hole in the donut, or they'd stir the fruit punch with their cock, and Not that I did that, but presumably I heard through friends of mine.
Well, and it's funny because you and I mean, we didn't find this out until after we started chatting after,
that your food got chubbed?
I was on Battleline. Oh, I chubbed my own food. But, I mean, I always figured it was better to take control of the situation. So if I chubbed it, I didn't have to worry if it had been pre-chubbed. It's like,
you did, yeah. You preempted the chub.
Yeah.
Basically, you were a preemptive chubber.
Yeah.
I didn't know. You know what? That's a hell of a hashtag down the line. You young Rangers got to use that as a hashtag. You got to give credit to Park here, Ranger Department. The hashtag preemptive chub.
You and I were actually in BCO at the same time and knew, like, I mean, I was heading over to HAC to the snipers when you were there, but we were there. We know all the same people.
Let me hit some more user questions here. I just want to make sure we get through them. Thank you, Hammer and Nails. Andrew asks, did the U.S. government have the ability to get help to Benghazi that wasn't sent for whatever reason? I've heard a lot of contradicting claims.
There was units in the area that could have made it, not to us, and that's I've even testified that I've said this many times to us. We were the immediate reaction to this consulate. That was us. We were there, and I testified to that. I even said it too, that when I was sitting in Mike Rogers' committee, which was a joke. That was such a show. But I remember saying, because when you go to these little hearings, these closed door hearings, you have the congressman, then you have their little lawyers, but they're young kids. They're
like their aides and whatnot.
Their aides or their little, and some of them have their degrees, but they're the ones that sit behind and ask the little snipey questions, and you just want to jump across like really shut up. But I remember, because I had an ask, and I forget which congressman it was, but then the aide asked, they said, "Hey, could you have made it in time? And what about the stand down?" I said, there were two different. All right, there was one with us, and that was initially, and I said that I don't believe that was malicious. I don't think that was nefarious. I just think that our chief was shitting down his leg and he made a bad call. And instead of letting the guys that knew what the hell they were doing, because I had to remind them, I said, remember, we're all 40-year-old, every one of us had been serving, and we're all 40-year, 41, 42, 43, 44. We're senior guys, and we all had been senior guys or officers within our respective units. We're not just new guys. So he should have said, you guys got this. He didn't. I said, that's the CIA way. I said, on the State Department side, yeah, there were units. There was a Marine Fast Company. That was the main ones. We had two factories that could have made it. One was in Spain, and then one was at Sigonella. We actually had one in the Med too. There was actually three. The Delta team, probably not. Nah, the Delta team would. But again, still though, I don't give a shit. You still get them spun up. The SIF team, the Commanders in Extremis Force, that 10 Special Forces Group team, that was actually the ambassador's PSD team. They were in Tripoli. I remember they would come have dinner with us when we worked in Tripoli. That was his actual PSD team. That was the team I couldn't believe they had pulled out of the country when he was coming to Benghazi. Right. They were tasked to him. If you watch the movie, that's the team that's the JOC team, the JSOC team. That's the SIF team. They could have made it, and they were up because we were on call right off the bat. The 555th Fighter Wing, yes, easy. Right. They had a detachment in Suda Bay, Greece. Well, how do you know they were Suda Bay, Greece? Well, because that's where we would pre-station before we'd go into Libya. My bed was right outside their barracks, and as it goes within the GRS, and I know the SEALs and Marines there hate me to say this, but every time there was going to be a fire plan or an E plan or a CSAR plan, it was always tasked to the Rangers. You guys do this. We're all the units that can get to us if we're going out to Sebha, or if we're going to Derna, or if we're going, like I said, if you're in Afghanistan, you're going out to Lashkar from Kandahar, you're going to Shindan or somewhere like that. It was always tasked to us. So I knew where all my units were because that was my job. That was my responsibility. And there were many in the air, and we had called them all. And the big one was the fast movers. And it was, we did tell them. I remember saying that hey man, we don't need your bombs. Just fly the fuck over these guys. These guys are shitless. They're scared shitless of movers. But it just kept saying not available. And then I remember Boone kept giving me sit reps because he had some radio calls as well. And we had a great radio guy. He was a former Vietnam guy named Larry, and he was on the radios. He was on our 117s doing the big calls out. We're on our embedders saying, hey, call this guy, call this guy, call this guy. He's putting it out. Vietnam veteran. He's calling him, and Boone's coming back to me going, dude, they're coming. I remember he coming to me and say, hey, the Marines are on their way. Fast is on their way. He'd walk back to me. No, they're not coming. Hey, fucking the Spectre gunship is coming. Oh, no, it's out of fueling range. Hey, the 555th Fighter Wing. And those guys, I love it. They got spun up. The pilots, they got to their planes. I've met some of those guys apologizing to me. I'm like, you guys don't need to apologize to me. They said, we got to our planes and they just didn't say anything. It wasn't that they were even told to stand down. It's just they weren't told anything. And they just stood there. And he would come to me and said, the 555th's coming. That's the Aviano fighter wing. It's like, no, they ain't coming. And it just, from about 1 to 3 a.m., I was just, Jesus, there ain't nobody fucking our way.
Where was this in the timeline when you say 1 to 3 a.m.? Was this after Glenn and Ty had been killed? Or where? I'm just curious to place this, within the timeline.
No. Jack, no, you can always ask me these kind of questions, brother. I no issues. This was before. They had actually. Guys, they were just waiting at the airport because they didn't have a ride. They didn't know where the fuck we were at. They actually got from Tripoli to Benina between midnight and 1 a.m. So this 1 a.m. is real time. 1 and 3 a.m. Okay. This is when we're like, holy shit, they really isn't. I mean, because we're doing what we do, doing what SEAL and Jack was his comms guy when he was on Team 5. So Jack is working it too, Silva. And it's just we're asking the right questions. I know where our assets are because that's my job on the map. I have, hey, here's this, here's who. That's what we do on CSAR. That's what Rangers do. And so I'm like, did you call here? Did you tell them? Did you call? Yeah. And Larry's like, yeah, I'm calling everybody. And nobody's responding or nobody's coming. Well, why? And it's just crickets. And we didn't know it at the time. And it wasn't like those motherfuckers, but it was, okay, what do we need to do? It wasn't till after we started to find out, wait a second, they really did. I mean, we're confirming our own worst fears. They really did leave us. Why? And that's when we started to put pieces together on our own. And then of course, all the hearings started. And then I even started to find out more. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. This is nefarious as shit. This just wasn't a mistake. And I knew what we were doing there. I mean, we're moving arms. I mean, and that's when I started to pay attention to the politics in the military and what we were doing. I never paid attention to it before. I didn't care.
Right.
I never, ever did. And that's when I was like, Jesus, there is a bigger picture here that I just never cared to see because it put a damper on what I was doing. I didn't. And that's when I got pissed. And that's when I started to do talks, but the talks weren't like what I do now. It was anger.
Right.
It was sheer, I'm going to get even with somebody.
Right.
I don't know who. I even turned on some of my own guys. It was like, this even my guys that were trying to help me. Are you really trying to help me? Or are you just trying to find out what happened?
Right.
Because if you're not saying what I'm saying, then you're not trying to help me. It's like, wait a second, I'm still trying to find out. I'm still trying to figure it out. Right. So it was, but that 1 to 3 a.m., yeah, bro, just to answer your question, that 1 to 3 a.m. was actual real time. And Bub had gotten there. I didn't know it at the time. Bub had gotten there with that. It was that executive's jet. They'd rented it. They had gotten there right around 12:30 midnight. And we did have an ISR 11:30 overhead. And what was beyond that ISR was always armed because it was always over Derna. And Tripoli was bad. Benghazi was worse. Derna was Benghazi times 10. I mean, we couldn't even get into Derna. I mean, they would turn us our asses away. We tried to sneak in there. Nope. Get the fuck out of it. I mean, that was bad. And so there was always a drone over Derna that was the Obama administration. That was Hellfire City, dude. Hey, we'll Hellfire them for an ISR. It was always armed. And I remember saying, hey, get that Hellfire armed on that ISR. Well, it's not armed. What the fuck? It's always armed. Why isn't it armed this? And I don't get in those arguments on the radio. It was just me making my smart ass comment. Well, why the fuck isn't it armed? I'm not expecting a reply, but it was.
I've been told that like the big three case studies to look at for like drone strikes is really Derna, Raqqa, and Mosul, and like we've not too many people talk about Derna because it was mostly Hellfire strikes, but I mean there were a lot of strikes. I mean there's a lot. There's a lot of bad guys going on there, and Derna was one of the places that sent the most foreign fighters to Iraq. I mean that is a hotbed for bad guys.
Buddy, that place was that was a training ground to me. That they say Syria was a training ground for ISIS and bullshit. Derna was a training ground for to my opinion, that's where ISIS started.
A ton of foreign fighters, yeah.
Oh yeah, the foreign fighters coming in but I remember doing an op in Benghazi, and we weren't supposed to be doing this because they didn't want us out doing surveillance. But me and Boone are like, dude, this is our job. And we had a targeter come to us. She was an incredible targeter. She's actually the one CIA and still working. I don't want to give her name, but that actually sided with us, that tried to help us and was completely blacklisted. But she says, she came to me and Boone, she goes, we got word there's foreign fighters now in Benghazi. Can you guys go to this location? And we had a 10-digit grid, like, hey, and go see if there are. And we're like, yeah, whatever. All right, well, whatever. Me and Boone got to go get some bootleg CDs anyway. So what the fuck? We'll go. Bootleg DVDs anyway. So we'll do it on the way. So we get in a local car. We drive down there, and Boone, I can actually grow a beard. And when all this is, I look pretty good. Now Boone's black. I don't know if people know that Boone is actually black. But when he gets it, he looks local. And we're sitting there on this, we're driving around this compound. It looks like it's a compound. It looks like a fort. It looks like, but there's forts, there's fucking old compounds everywhere over there. I mean, that's how people live. They have their damn 8-foot high block walls around there. Every house has its own demarcation line, because if you don't, your neighbor's going to come and annex your property. So so we're sitting there and we're looking, and I remember I could see through this wall. So we're off this street. We're in this little Pajero, I think it was. And I'm looking, and I remember there's this, it's no bigger than maybe 3 foot by 2 foot opening that I can see by the gate. And we're looking, and we see this guy walk. And I remember I didn't have to look at him. I knew the hair on the back of his neck was standing up like mine. It was like, holy shit, that's Al-Qaeda, man. I mean, you do it for so long. It's like, Jesus, they're fucking here. And it was a wake-up call to us that, okay, what the hell, what's going on? There's foreign fighters here. Yeah, there's terrorists here, except when Gaddafi was there. So Gaddafi didn't allow terror. There was no terrorists in Libya when Gaddafi was in charge. Just so all you guys know that, yeah, Gaddafi was the bad guy, whatever. Holy shit, there's foreign fighters here.
You're talking about like you saw a guy with the big like jihadi beard and all that.
You saw the jihadi beard, and been doing it long enough now. And he's actually was dressed in BDUs, Army Woodland Camel BDUs. And
okay, pretty clear.
How do you know? You could just by the face, the hardness, the crustiness, after that many years.
It's jihadi for sure, yeah.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Boone, and Boone's been doing it. Boone started with me at Blackwater. We were at Class 1 at Blackwater. We started together. He's been doing this with me, and he's been in different areas. Not saying we've been on the same team for 10 years, but we've been working GRS and contracting world for 10 years in Pakistan and in Yemen and all these other places, Libya and Iraq and Afghanistan, of course. And I look at him. I go, "Did you see what I saw?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Was that a fucking AQI?" He goes, "Fuck yeah, that was." Like to me, that was it. Just brother, to me, I had so much fun doing the contracting job for so long. That's when I started to see there's something, and I was always, maybe I was ignorant. I took the green pill instead of the red pill. Ignorance is truly bliss. That's when I really started to see the government. No, man, we're not not here to save America anymore. We're here to, I don't know. And at that time, I said, I don't know what the hell we're doing. What are we supposed to be doing here? And then eventually I saw that, no, we're here to destabilize regions and loot what we can get and put people in charge that we want in charge. Like at that time, the Muslim Brotherhood were the good guys. That was the past administration. That's what they said. And Hamas was, in Egypt had just been, the coup in Egypt had just taken place. And it was me finally waking up to that this is something greater that I started on, that we all started on, and that something greater was gone. It wasn't there anymore. I'm not doing this for patriotism and to save America. I'm just doing the bidding of our government just to do it. And as we're flashing back, both it wasn't a disappointment in the job because I still love the job. Because like I said, I went to Yemen after, but it just opened my eyes to what foreign policy is, not what it was. I didn't even know what foreign policy, what it meant at that time. I just was doing the job.
Kris, I got a good one here actually. Emmett and this has got to be Emmett O'Lunnies from Times Square.
That's gotta be, yeah.
He says, "I miss seeing you guys in Times Square. It was the safest pub in the world when you were there."
Buddy, you, and Scoveland had our books right next to each other at Emmett O'Luney's, dude.
It was at your book signing, Kris, that I came to, where I met my publisher, my editor, who picked up my book.
That's right. That's where
Natasha.
Was that your not your epiphany, but that was where like, dude, you're starting. I mean, we're gonna do this and we're gonna knock it out of the park. Epiphany, I should say.
I mean, I met her there, and she was like, I would be interested in that. Let's talk further, and it all came out of that.
Oh man, I miss Emmett, dude. I know,
me too.
Down there in Times Square.
It was a great place.
They had damn good food too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lassick says, Tanto, did you ever meet a GRS or contractor who had no mill or law enforcement experience but got a lot of PSD training and experiences that was a solid guy who could have been SF?
Well, I met, like I said, there were team leaders, there were staffers. The staffers weren't held to the same requirement as contractors. But all of them had at least law enforcement in some capacity. They weren't all military, but some of them had some federal, so they all had some law enforcement, whether it was big city or like a Southside who passed away, on that attacking coast, which was a bad call by another chief at the time. He was Atlanta SWAT, and he was a detective. He wasn't military, but he was Atlanta. Or like our guy who didn't do very well during Benghazi, but was a former Secret Service. So, but neither of them were military. Southside guys, if I missed his military time, I apologize. Rest in peace. As Southside actually was a tremendous team leader. I didn't know any GRS guys that didn't have anything. Now that being said, the people that run GRS now have no security, no military experience. Gender, I'm not going to tell you what gender they are because it shouldn't matter, but I brought it up anyway, so you guys can figure it out. But the ones that run GRS to this date, and this is from my buddies that still work GRS. No military, no security, no law enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, it should be guys that come up through the ranks, right? That end up running the organization.
It always seems to work best that way. I mean, you don't become a platoon sergeant by just showing up and signing. Yeah, I'm going to be a platoon sergeant now. It should be the same in the civilian world too. Should have that experience to go along with whatever pedigree you have.
And for the guy who was the secret security or the Secret Service agent, like in a standard or DSS or whatever, in a standard diplomatic environment, that would be enough. It would be close protection. Get the primary to the vehicle, get out of there. But when you go into these semi-permissive or non-permissive areas, it becomes more a matter of.
And I've interviewed Thomas Pecora, who was like an OG. But he was with the POC before it was GRS, and he told me, he was like, that guy had to make a difficult decision. Was it necessarily his job to put his boys in harm's way to go and do a rescue mission at the embassy? But it was you, Kris, and it was Ty and those other dudes who kind of manned up and were like, no, we have to choose the hard right over the easy wrong.
It is, and it wasn't, it wasn't that we just decided right off the bat too. It was like, oh, fuck you, we're doing what we want to do. No, we waited.
Right.
And during this time frame, not only are we waiting for him to make a decision, but we're collecting our own information. We're doing what seasoned operators, and I hate saying operator, but it's such a catchphrase, a catchword now, but you're doing what seasoned professionals do.
Right.
You're taking it all in. Yes, we're still waiting for him to call because he's in charge, but we're still, as a group, taking, is the fire increasing or is it not increasing? What's the chatter on the radio? Do we have an asset? Have they somehow mysteriously found an asset that can help us or not? And then just doing even just our normal prevent PCIs, prevent checks and the PCSs. Sorry about that. Too much vodka. Sorry, guys. Do I have all my gear? Am I still on the right spot? Is my vehicle? How much gas do I have? Have I been paying attention? You're still going through just the normal stuff, not just, gosh, this guy's an asshole, we're not going, what a dick, we can't go. No, you're still trying to so when you do, because eventually we're going to get out the gate.
Right.
What do we expect?
Right.
What if we run into this? What do we need to do? And if we do, is all the mechanical equipment that we have on us and everything that we're carrying, whether we're driving, is it going to work? Is it going to work to proficiency? If not, let's fix it now. It is. It's one of those situations where that's where the military experience helps.
Right.
That's where the special ops background helps. That's where going through Ranger School or BUDS or RIP or being a private helps, because you are putting those situations in training. You're going to fail.
Right.
How can you handle that? Or even the first thing you do before you go to RIP, trying to get all your bags in the back of a deuce and a half in 30 seconds. That's damn near impossible. But are you going to do it anyway?
Right.
And God, maybe you might figure out how to do it, but that's where it all starts. And I don't think people realize that, that shit's easy. No, he was Secret Service. No. It starts there, lower echelons of being set up for failure, but can you succeed? And then how do you do it? And then if you're in a situation that may be a long situation, but longevity, does your brain continue to problem solve, or does it just shut down because you're overwhelmed with all those stressors?
Right.
Andrew says, do you have any other stories about shady PMCs or contractors?
Let's see. I wrote a book about, no, I'm kidding. I have 200 books about, no, I'm kidding. The other two books I wrote were about leadership and faith, and they're faith-based books. So I tried to stay away from that. But I've ran around a lot of shady guys. I've ran around a lot of tremendous, unbelievable guys I learned from as well. It comes with the territory, especially in the early days where there is no oversight. When you're animal mother, you're a jolly green giant with guns that can do whatever you want. It's hard not to be that jolly green giant with guns that can do whatever you want, because as a contractor there was no oversight.
Right.
And I did. And there's YouTube videos of who was that SAS's guy's company? What were they called? Man,
there's a couple. I mean, there's Armor Group.
It was Spicer's company, Tim Spicer's company.
Oh yeah.
And they drove around. They had a video of them just driving around Baghdad shooting up cars, and I remember that went viral at the time. Well, that's when I was there. That was during that time frame. It was you could. We had teams at Blackwater, bad shoots. And the only way to stop it is you had to control it in-house. Nobody else would. Yeah. And that's the only way. But I saw bad shoots. It fucking pissed me off. It's like, dude, we are making our own terrorists here. We're making the terrorists for the. Are you guys not understanding that?
Right.
And I'm not saying that I'm just some high and mighty guy, but also life is precious. I don't care what it is. And at that point in time, also as a contractor, with little oversight, you have to have some intestinal fortitude, some self-restraint. But just as you said, you had a lot of peacetime guys that this was their war.
Right.
I got to get my shoot on. I got to get my first confirmed kill.
Right.
And it didn't happen a ton, but it happened enough that I remember it. And yeah, I could call out guys here, and I'm not doing that. I'm not going to call them out, but I'll just say, yes, did it happen? Yeah, fuck yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
Worse fucking hell, especially when it's a profit, when it's war for profit. It's really fucking hell.
Yeah.
But again, I also saw a lot of tremendous kind-hearted things done to help injured Iraqis or to help injured Afghanis, or even just having a guy get out of a car and just having a conversation with a child. I mean, I did that. That was one of the most precious things in the world is getting out there and having a conversation with a child and then handing them a candy bar, but then getting in your car real quick and getting out of there, because by the time all the rest of the kids find out you're giving Snickers bar.
Right.
But yeah, I remember trying to do good and having some good, but I also remember the bad.
Right.
And we all do. That's why we all have our nights where we may. I don't anymore, but when I used to have my nights when I was in a bad place where I would where I drink too much because I just didn't want to fucking just take this away. I don't want to think about this anymore. Stop having it go through my head. So
war is that crucible, right? It brings out the very best in human beings, and it brings out the very worst in human beings. Like everything outside of war is sort of that middle ground where people will operate sort of within some boundary.
Yeah.
Because
you see people for who they really are.
I do. I think when I do. I agree. I agree with that. I do agree with that, Jack. I do agree that when you have the opportunity to be the biggest, baddest person in town, and there are no rules,
you can be the bully if you want.
It's moral courage. I got an argument with guys. I have a problem, and not saying I'm not one that's done it, but I have a problem with guys that have affairs on their wives. I do. Now, not saying hey, been there, done that. I know. I have a problem with that, but then think that sin isn't as bad as other sins out there. So I had an issue with that. And it's moral courage. These guys have tremendous physical. I've seen guys with tremendous physical courage, but can't keep their dick in their pants when they need to. And you see what that does to people.
Right.
It destroys people. And I've seen women do it to guys too. I wish there could be a study on how many veterans have killed themselves or gone down that road when the other route's gone. The moral courage is what shows itself when there are no parameters. When you are supposed to set your own parameters. When you're supposed to stay within your own guidelines. And the alpha male, it's not the physical courage that they lack. It really is. Yes, it's easy to run towards gunfire. It is. I know it is. I'm saying it from experience. The moral courage part, to do the right thing when nobody else is looking, to not take that drink, to not, oh man, nobody's going to find out what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Right. That is much harder because you don't think it's, I don't know what the process is.
Kris, and Kris, I would invite you to weigh in. I think that there's something to, when you show physical courage, the military rewards it, and there's awards, there's the respect of your peers. But if you show the moral courage, more often than not, you're kind of shat upon and seen as kind of the bad guy that you're kind of going against the grain.
And it just it depends on. I guess it depends on what it is. And so why should I say that? Well, we have seen some of who are the ones that spoke out on national security stuff where. I don't remember who they are. Where they were reprimanded. Help me out here. There's some of the intel people on the NSA stuff that gave up.
Drake was one of them who spoke out, and he had like DOJ kick down his door while he was in the shower. Yeah.
Or was it Snowden? Is that another one? Help me out here, guys.
Yeah, I think the dude's a dirtbag. I don't think he spoke out. I think he was. But that's me personally.
I guess so. What I'm getting at though, is if you're right. If you speak out against the
status quo, right?
Well,
the system.
I use fraternization and affairs as an example because it is rampant in ranks. It does,
right?
And it's actually something that you're cool. I mean, that used to be, hey, you got multiple, you're cool. You got multiple women.
You're getting it on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was actually a cool thing to look at.
Right.
And it took, honestly, brother, it took me coming to my knees and being humbled. And that was one of my vices that I succumbed to. And it took me figuring it finally out where really God said, you're a shitbag, knock this shit on, and making me down to my knees, where I found like, wait a second, no, this isn't good. And I shouldn't be allowed to do. I always thought, I should be allowed to do this. I should be, I'm out there saving lives. I'm out there running a gun and I'm protecting America. Don't I get that little pass? No, the sin's a sin. Just because my sin isn't any better than, and I'm going to tell you, my sin isn't any better than that guy that's out there mass murderer. Sin's a sin. I'm still and it had to come to terms that way. And that's when I wrote the Patriots Creed, I was going through that dilemma. What moral courage is versus physical courage. And there is a difference. And that physical courage, just based off the Army values, which I didn't know at the time till I actually started to sit down and read the Army values and then go through, holy shit, there is a difference. Holy shit. I have no moral. I mean, I'm looking at myself going, I have no moral courage. And that is the hardest thing to come to. But once you get it and you're able to get the two, I really think you can take on the world. But I don't think many men or women in today's society now with everything, because everything's equal, right? We're all equal. I don't think men or women, I don't think many of us are able to bring those two things together.
Well, and I mean, and it's challenging also because, there are levels of moral courage, right? There is, or whether it's moral courage or discipline, like, discipline. Is it okay to have an affair? Maybe. Is it okay to have an affair with another Ranger's wife? Maybe. Is it okay to steal from CIF, Central Issue Facility? Maybe. Is it okay to steal money from your buddy? Maybe. You're right. So like, there are all these different, like, people are not, it's not this yin yang, black white type of thing where we're all sort of shades of gray. Like,
and the job inherently exists in a very gray area.
Right. And like, who would you rather be your friend? The guy that when you walk down an alley and get jumped is there at your side, but would sleep with your wife when you're like away? Or the guy who would never dream of sleeping with your wife, but would run away from a fight and leave you to get jumped? And
seeing that, that's okay. That's the dilemma, because we're not perfect,
right?
And that's another thing I have to come to terms with too.
Right.
Just continue to. There's only one. With me on Christianity, there's only one perfect being out there, and that's it. We will never be perfect,
right?
But we can continue to strive. It's the person I became where it was. I wasn't even trying anymore. It's like, I'll do whatever I want.
Right.
Wilt Chamberlain's got nothing on me. And you know what? But that's where I had the issues, and that's where I had to look at myself. Like, am I ever going to be perfect? No, nobody is. We're human. We're fallible. That's how we're made.
Right.
But I can try. I mean, at least let me try. Let me at least give that effort. I'm not living with guilt. It's not that. The only guilt I live with is how much I've missed with my children. I do. I just don't be guilty about it. No, I do. Because I get to experience the fun I'm having with my 5-year-old that I don't even remember when my 16 and 12-year-old were 5. I can't even remember. I look at pictures and I'm like, God, I don't even remember that because I was gone so much. But it's that we try and we try to be better. And yeah, we're going to screw up and fail.
Right.
It's that when we give up trying, that's when we need to be humbled. And I gave up trying, but that's when ego comes in.
Right.
I'm like, that's what you're kind of going full circle. When all that was going on with me and I was going through those bad times, it's not that I was committing those acts or doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. And I was divorced at the time. So to be honest with you, some of those things I was divorced, but it was that I had given up because, you know what? Fuck it. I don't have to worry about that shit. This is what we do. This is what the vices, I'm going to do whatever I want.
Right.
You know why? Because I can.
Yeah, I'm a badass.
It's when we make excuses for or justify our actions. You're
that's
right.
It.
Even if we know,
that's it.
Jim says, he asks, did the State Department security team at the consulate do anything to help with the situation in Benghazi that night?
they did, and don't knock Scott or Alec. I mean, for God's sake, Scott was basically trapped in a pizza oven.
Right.
What would I have done?
Right.
Holy shit, he's getting burned alive, and there's diesel, and that diesel smoke was no joke.
Well, I mean, I read that that type of smoke can incapacitate a person in a heartbeat like that.
We almost lost Tyrone in that. We had to do Marco Polo to get him out.
Yeah.
And it's just like putting white lights don't work. It's just like putting on your brights in dense fog. I mean, it just reverberates back. So, Scott did lose control of the ambassador, and he did. And I know he feels terrible about it, and
right.
I would too. I mean, but do I? Oh, he sucks. No, not at all. I might have.
Right.
And Alec Henderson, I never have talked to him after, but, just imagine yourself, you got your friends everywhere and you're sitting into a room that has cameras, CCTV, and you're just watching your friends get decimated. And you have a choice. Do I run out there and commit hara-kiri and
right.
maybe shoot a couple and die?
Right.
Or do I stay in here and try to raise us, which is what he was doing, which was the right thing to do.
Right.
So we can come help. But God, how hard would that have been?
Right.
And on Dave's side, Dave actually did an excellent job. He was in that fight. He did feel guilty. I think the actor that portrayed him in the movie was spot on. It's like, man, where can I help? That's how he was. Where can I help? I want to help, because he knew that they didn't do the job that they're required to do. Not knocking it. God damn, that's a hell of a situation he put into. But he was trying to do the right thing and go above and beyond to try to make up for it. He got hammered. He was up on that rooftop fighting with us. He was shooting with us when those mortars hit. He didn't go run downstairs. He didn't hide. He could have. The other two guys could have come up. They didn't.
Right.
I don't know what was going on in their head. They have to live with themselves on that decision.
I mean, it was essentially like 4 or 5 security guys for an 8-acre compound.
Right. They did request Eric Nordstrom, who was the RSO there in Tripoli, and I got to know him well when I was in Tripoli. He was doing everything he could to try to get more security. He did at request a 240 Bravo twice, which they did turn down because they deemed it was going to be too high profile, was going to offend the locals. I remember Scott talking to me about that during the famous pool incident, which actually happened as well. When I looked at them like, dude, y'all are going to fucking die. I remember looking just like, geez, dude, look at this. This walls are soft. It's sniper's paradise. You have no concertina wire on the walls. You're going to get in through the gate. You guys are going to fucking die if any big element gets in here. And that was the day before that. Just, I would say about 30 minutes before that, he had told me, we'd asked for machine guns. They won't give us a 240. And I remember Eric even telling us when he came up for dinner, it was about 3 months prior to the attack in Benghazi. 4 months, because I took a 2-month leave off. When I was in Tripoli, they would come over and eat dinner at our place because we had better food at the annex than they had at the consulate there in Tripoli, or the embassy in Tripoli. I remember he said it, and it still resonated. He goes, man, it feels like I'm fighting the Taliban in my own office. I was like, jeez. I dismissed it to being State Department because I'd worked with the State Department before GRS. I'd been a year and a half with State Department on their security stuff when it was CPA during the Bremer Negroponte days. So I just like, well, sucks for you, State Department. What do you expect?
Right.
I mean, I feel like a jerk saying it now, but at the time it was a State Department. You get what you pay for, man. And so they did. Could they have done more? That's up to them. You'd have to ask them. Mm-hmm. I don't want to answer that question. I know that we all could give more. Everybody wants in combat feels like they can give more. That is lived, at least in my opinion. But to answer that for them, I'm not them. Mm-hmm. I don't want to answer, but I do know. I just know from my perspective, from where they were at, the disadvantages they had at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. Mm-hmm. Man, it's been fucking tough, dude. Holy shit! You basically are signing your own death warrant, which yeah, we kind of did too, but
Yeah.
they were all spread out as well.
Right.
I had 5 guys next to me going, "Hey, you dumb enough to go? You dumb enough to go? All right, let's go."
Right.
And let's go. And we went.
Jerry says, I think the military intel language, it was an expected loss at the time. Nobody much cares, and poor leadership also.
Yeah.
Andrew says the movie showed some point Ambassador Stevens donning armor and bearing a pistol. Is there any truth to that? Were state expected to carry weapons?
No, they had his safe room was by his bedroom. That was right. His safe room was back there. People have shown that the windows and stuff back there, they had the wrought iron on them, so they couldn't get out of them, even if they broke them. But when they broke them, the diesel smoke, you know how it is. Now it's got a space to go. Now it's just coming that way. Yeah, they had a shotgun back there. They had arms. They had armor. They had a helmet. But again, he died of smoke inhalation.
Right.
He didn't die of bullet wounds or explosions or anything. No, that gate that they had up front, the ballistic lock they had on it was a pretty fucking hefty lock. You weren't gonna just shoot through that with an AK-47 or, I mean, I would have been hard pressed to think an RPG. I mean, granted, they would have killed themselves. They would have shot RPG in there. I would have been hard pressed to say that thing was pretty fucking hefty. It was an opening. So they smoked them out. That's what they were trying to do. I don't even think, my opinion, they were trying to smoke them out to kill them. I really do think they wanted
to capture him.
They wanted to capture him. It was a hell yeah. He's a high value target. He's a 3-star general. He's an ambassador that is literally a vice president at the level of ambassadorship that he is, and he's got nobody around him. What would we do?
Right.
Probably either go snatch him if we wanted information, or we drop a hellfire on him and blow him up. But no, that was my opinion, because the reason being is because they could have brought those mortars on us at any time, and they didn't. So when they couldn't get him, they were just trying to get somebody. And when they realized, man, we're taking a lot of casualties here, fuck these guys. Why they didn't blow an IED up, because we're lucky. They would have just destroyed us with an IED on the front gate.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't. I'd like to ask one of them one of these days, because I would have said, man, you guys fucked up. You'd have just crushed us. You would have just killed all of us easily.
Well, that was something that was pretty evident in the sense of how few mortar, they didn't have to bracket you guys. Like, their mortars were dialed in from the first hit, basically. The first hit was a little far, but the second hit was ready for fire for effect.
Who don't know, getting a direct hit with mortars is like, it doesn't really happen. It's an area effect weapon. You don't really get direct hits with the mortars.
And that one, I'm not a mortarman, but I've been around them enough. That first one going over the top, generally that first miss is because if you have a TRP, or if that place is set in, target reference point, if you're trying to figure out where those mortars are. So basically that's a mortar, the two that's been sitting there for a while, it's going to set. So that base plate's going to set. So you're maybe long or short on that first one, because it's been sitting there for so long, it's got to get back in the dirt. And again, I'm not a mortarman. I'm not, but I just have seen enough mortars from guys that are very good mortarmen that if something's sitting there for a while, sometimes that first base hit is going to throw it off a little bit, because it's got to get set. And then they're on fire for effect after. No, that thing had been, they knew where we were at. There was no hiding.
But they didn't just know where you were at. They were dialed in, which is not easy to do.
They knew, and that was the building that if you're going to hit, that's why I made it a point to tell people when they asked, that was our talk. That was where our weapons were. That was where all our equipment was. That was where our leadership was. That was the skiff. All of our intel is. And that was where most of the people were that night. Out of the 32 people, 26 of them were in that building. So that's what you want to hit. But they knew that from the get-go. And that's just from good intel collection, locals just telling them. And, you see enough white dudes coming in and out of a...
Right.
Eventually you'll figure it out.
All right. Last question here. How did you react when you met Pablo? Do you still talk? Do you watch whatever he's in? What's your favorite? Jack and Dave, opinion on Master Chief. I don't know who Pablo is. Who are we talking about?
The guy that played me in the movie, Schreiber.
Oh, okay.
Pablo. I actually knew who he was before he got picked to play me. because I watched I thought Orange is the New Black was a good show. I love that show. And so I knew who Pornstache was from his actor. And he was the sadistic, sexual, deviant security guard in Orange is the New Black in the original seasons. And when the movie started to come out, our agency, 3 Arts Entertainment, that repped us on the movie, and it still reps me on books. Great people there. I don't care if they're liberal. I give 2 shits. They're liberal as hell. It doesn't make a difference to me. They are outstanding people there. They take good care of me. I love Richard Abate and Erwin Stoff to death. They're tremendous. And I'm name dropping because I love them. They've taken such good care of me. But I remember Richard hit me up. He goes, "Hey, Pornstache is playing you in the movie." And I knew who he was. I was like, holy shit, that's perfect. Sexual deviant, right. Fucking disrespects authority. He fucking has a cool ass mustache, man. That's who I want. And I hit him up on that's when I had a Twitter account, and I hit up on Twitter. I said, because if you watch the seasons where he's in Orange is the New Black, he's frumpy. He's an overweight, frumpy security guard. I hit him up. I said, "Hey, motherfucker, you better start working out. I ain't want to see no small calves." And yeah. I got. No shit. 5 minutes later, he goes, "I'm doing push-ups already," and I hit him back. "Well, then you better elevate." Yeah, and his we're still friends. We are. We don't talk a whole bunch, but it's something where we didn't talk a bunch. And when I was living in Nebraska, he's like, "Hey, I'm coming through Nebraska. Can I hang out?" Hell yeah! And we got pictures of me and him sitting around our little fire pit doing our best. Vatos Locos impression with our airsoft guns hanging out, drinking beers, and I'll post it one of these days. But that was kind of one of our things. And honestly, even before the movie, we went on a shot together. I went and met his mom. We hung out, went to the gym together, and I still consider us friends. And it's a guy where we don't have to talk, but he'll hit me up on a text, and I'll hit him up. It's been about 6 months or so, but it's just, "Hey, dude, what's going on? Hey," or "Hey, man, I want." He shoots. He goes and shoots. Goes, "Hey, what do you recommend on this? On a gun question, or even just on Instagram. We'll give our little shout outs to each other every once in a while, just to, hey, man, we still respect each other." And no, I do. He's got tremendous kids. He's a tremendous father. And he is a monster, though. The dude got yoked for 13 hours, and I don't think he ever is going to go back to that frumpiness ever. He enjoys just, and now he's playing Master Chief in the new Halo movie. So
I was wondering if that's what Master Chief was.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's the only Master Chief, when you say Master Chief comes to mind.
But yeah, Pablo. No, and I love him to death. And he actually, I know I'm being biased here, but out of all the characters, I think they all did a great job. But I watched the movie, and he really got my personality down spot on. I mean, just spot on. And I really think he stole the show, because that is his personality. He is a smart ass, jackass, I don't give a fuck sort of guy in the Hollywood world. And his characters come across. Yeah, the movie, the Stars series that he's in, American Gods, where he plays the Lucky Charms guy. Help me out. What are the Leprechaun? He plays it.
Oh, is that him? Okay, I didn't know that was him. I haven't seen that show for a couple of years, actually, but
awesome. Then he played the sexual rapist on Law and Order SUV. Again. I know we're going. This isn't a constant theme, guys. I swear. But and just as a person, just a genuinely nice guy. Him and guys like Erwin and Richard, and even Krasinski, who I got to meet. We got to meet him a little bit. His wife is wonderful. She was such a nice person. She was so nice to my family. But Max Martini, even, or Dominic, just the guys in the movie. And I'm not name dropping. This is the guys that were in the movie. I had a lot different perspective of what Hollywood people are like.
Yeah.
And I think
Martini's a nice guy. I've interviewed him before too.
Kris, out of curiosity, and I don't want it like this. I don't want us to get partisan or even political. But
here we go.
No, I really don't.
Here we go.
But I know that, like you said, that you felt like a puppet on a string.
Dude.
And so when you came out of you and your teammates came out of this situation, obviously it was highly politicized because of the time. Where you may, through your conversations, know where where the communication stopped or whatever. And I don't really want to get into that either because, you know, I want people to just kind of get a sense of you in this as opposed to like accepting it or rejecting it because.
Well, I kind of have an idea. And I'll go, you know, when we sold the story, we actually pitched it, you know, when the book came out and then the book came out initially. The book was first. We talked to be the first news because it was a huge story. I mean, it was going to be a huge story. Well, yeah, we talked to Brett Baer, who initially did the first one. I talked to Anderson. He was actually my vote. I voted, no, let's go on Anderson Cooper's show first. That was, I thought he was the nicest. I know he was very genuine, very respectful to me. MSNBC was never, I don't care what side you're on. They're not a legitimate news organization. Just get out of there. They're dead. All right. So, but those were the two. And I voted for, we had a vote because there was a team like, well, who should we go? Well, I want Anderson Cooper. Well, the other two, we want Brett Baer. And at that time, in my opinion, I'm actually an independent. I'm not registered either way. I actually am registered independent if you want to, and you can check my records and stuff. But if you're people want that. But and I didn't care about politics even then, but I knew that at least from what I had saw when I was in Yemen working and up to that point, it didn't pass past me that Fox had really been backing us on what was going on, where CNN wasn't.
Right.
My opinion was seeing why should we do CNN? Well, here's me thinking, we've got Fox. They know what they've got our backs. At least that's what I thought at the time, or at least whatever it was. We need this. We need them. If we want to pull people together, we got to, and get them to know the story and not just to turn into a right wing, hey, let's elect Trump sort of, which it turned in. Well, I did. It turned into that. I didn't know it at the time then, but that right, fuck the left, third Benghazi, It's like, no, they need to know what happens because right now it's bashing Hillary, which she deserved to be bashed. That wasn't because of her political affiliation. It's just because she was shit.
Yeah, but she's horrible on her own right, even independent of Benghazi.
Yeah, it did. I mean, that was nothing political, but we voted as a team, and I was outvoted, and it was okay, and it did well. And as we got going, where it turned into let's tell the truth, that was taken, and it started to turn into Republicans need to, it started to turn to political message.
Right.
I was a part of that. I didn't say I was. I bought into not the Republican message. It was fuck the left. They left us. It didn't go from the individual anymore. It went to like everybody does with everybody else. When you start to buy into the bullshit, it was the entire party.
Right.
Even though I had friends on the left that were like, no, they fucked you guys over. It was, oh, let's buy into the party.
The whole left is against us, and they hate it. Right.
And then it got to a point, too, where it was, man, the agency doesn't like us right now. I know how shady the government is. If we don't have at least this status quo or at least this people on our side, a massive group of people, my mindset, it was our protection is not from our lawyers. It's not from the movie people because the movie people. No, they care. They did. But they're not going to do anything. It's not from the book. It's not from money. It's from we need people behind us. So they don't come after us because if they do, it's going to be a complete overthrow of the government because they're coming. Our protection was the people,
right?
And that was my mindset. But as it went. And I remember I was actually sitting, speaking of Pablo, I was actually sitting in his trailer. I went and saw him at the Den of Thieves set. I went and, watched the shooting scenes. And I said, I was in Atlanta and I said, we're friends. We can just go down and just talk to him. And, he is a liberal. He's left. He's Canadian. What do you expect? I mean, that's how it is. But, I remember I said to him, and I love the line from Tombstone. I took it from Tombstone, the Doc Holliday character with the Kurt Russell movie and the Val Kilmer movie, where he goes, he hands back the badge and he goes, "My hypocrisy only goes so far."
Right.
Well, that's me in politics. I remember said to Pablo, he says, "And what do you think?" Because this is going to be during the election. Now, what do you think Trump and And I said to him, dude, politics, my hypocrisy only goes so far. He goes, what does that mean? I said, I don't give a fuck. I don't care.
Right.
I go, brother, the only reason I've been speaking out is because she's not going to win. I said, I don't care about the parties. I said, she's not going to win. I said, and then when that's over, I'm done. I said, my hypocrisy goes so far because right now I'm pitching a party that I don't even care about the parties. I care about America, but I don't think either party has the best interest of everyone involved. They have interest of their agendas, and I was part of an agenda.
Right.
So yeah, I can speak eloquently. I believe so, even with a couple shots of vodka. That I do believe parties are part of agendas now. They don't have the best interest of everyone. It's whoever their base is, and that's when I started to. After the election, and I there's even a video of me on, I think it was even on Fox and Friends, something. It was one of those Fox channels where they wanted, hey, what was your reaction? I just got done speaking in Phoenix. I'd spoken in Pennsylvania the night before, flew all the way to Phoenix, did a speaking event in Phoenix. I was tired as shit. I remember they asked me, said, what's your opinion on the election? And I said, hey, job's done, continue mission. I said, Charlie Mike. I said, that's all. He go, what do you mean? I said, you just continue on. They wanted me to get, oh yeah, she lost. I was like, yeah. I said, we just continue to live. I said, It's over. Let's just continue. And that's also when I started to see the cracks of me being in the public eye anymore. I got tired. I was like, man, I'm starting to turn into the Benghazi guy.
Right.
The liberal hating Benghazi. And I said, I'm not at all. And 2 years later, I mean, I kept on it. And I'm not going to say I stopped right away. It's hard to stop. It's like doing cocaine. It's hard to stop that drug of public figureness.
Sure.
But 2 years later, I was the last interview I ever did. I was actually a write-up on a website. And I said, I'm not doing any more news ever again. I don't care who it is. And I haven't done it. I haven't watched news since. And it's been since I reconciled with my wife, actually. It's been three years, and I won't. I'll do podcasts. I love podcasts. But as far as doing mainstream media, whether it's written, whether it's radio, whether it's satellite, no, done. I'm not doing it because you guys are making money pitting us against each other.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm tired of seeing you guys fight with each other on TV and then going and having a drink at the bar.
Right.
In Manhattan.
And we're just trying to have an interesting conversation,
And make
at the
money off
worst case, we're not trying to kick off a Civil War 2.0.
Well, I know, and that's why I wanted to ask because, I mean, we talk about that sometimes, but you said, you were a puppet on the string where there were probably people on the left and the right who did have your best interest at heart just because you're a human being and they support our country. Because people on the left and the right can support the country, but then there were also people who had something to gain on both sides.
Oh yeah. No, they definitely they're always, and that's why I always speak highly of the guys at 3 Arts. Oh hell yeah, I know they're liberal as hell. I don't care.
Right.
They're awesome people. There are also people on the right. I know tremendous people on the right. I know some people don't like Trey Gowdy. He was the only man that was honest with me throughout everything, no matter if it was good or bad. He's the only one that told me honestly everything that happened, that was going on. And I have respect for him too. But there are people on both sides that hate so much that they just can't get over it. And that's why. But where that came from too is coming back from my upbringing with being an immigrant's grandson,
right.
Being someone who nowadays the Latin community, the Latino community is all supposed to be left. And I'm like, no, it's honestly, at the time, I didn't know what that was, and we didn't care. All I knew is that hard work paid off. My grandpa, who wasn't given anything, always told us we don't take handouts. Well, what is it? He's an immigrant worker. So do I fall into the left category by your interpretation? But wait, he's a hard worker that doesn't want to take handouts. Does that put me in the right category? It's like I'm not in any category. That's what I try to. It's just I'm not in any category. But those 3 years that I was doing well with money financially, but that I had put myself in a category.
Right.
Kris, we got one last question for you, and just something I wanted to tell to you, just to be candid. I was one of those people. I saw your sort of presence on social media and things like this, and you seemed like a super angry person. The things you said often were quite honestly like very vile. Oh my, like this person is filled with hatred and anger. Yeah. And when I met you in person, it was like I met an entirely different person, and it was very difficult to reconcile those two personalities. I was like, this person that I had seen through the media or whatever, that wasn't who you were. It was someone very different. And even when I announced that we were having you on the show tonight, and people are like, "Oh, fuck Kris Paronto, that guy, fuck that dude." It's like, no, you don't know Kris.
Right.
Like you don't understand. You don't know who he is. And yeah, sure, he's like a right-wing guy, which is fine. But like that, you got the wrong impression from him, and that's partly your own doing. But I also hope that people would give you a second chance and to try to understand you a little bit more before they throw you under the bus in that manner.
But it comes with the territory. One thing I've learned, I can't make everybody happy, and I never will. And as far as right wing, left wing, I don't care. I don't violate. You have the commandments. You have the Constitution. That's all I followed before, and that's what I was taught to follow growing up by a Mexican grandfather and by my dad's white as hell. He's Spanish, but he's white as hell. He's West Texas. He's Lubbock. All right, by my father and my mother. But so as far as me doing it, I did. I put myself, and that's fine. That was the route I chose.
Right at that time.
At the time. But also knew, going back, oh man, you're right. That's not me. And that was the stuff you were seeing was what I was internally fighting with.
Right.
Which made me I did 3 times, made me try to kill myself 3 times. Because like I put that face on of being me. And then I go to my room by yourself in a hotel room, being stupid and reading comments, or just getting your mind drinking, or not being able to see my kids and wondering what the fuck am I doing by my own fault, and getting pissed off. And where does that pissed off come from?
Right.
Or where does it go to? Well, of course, what's the easiest thing it can go to? Well, let's see what troll I'm going to hate on today on my Twitter. Who am I going to twat on my Twitter today? But at that time too, I don't know if people realize this, I nuked every one of my social media accounts when I just turned over a new leaf. And when I said, after the last time I did the crying game in the shower with the Glock in my mouth, and it was the straight up crying game by myself, looked in the mirror after I got out and said, do I want to live my life like this for the rest of my life? That's when I actually nuked everything.
Wow.
And I had, what did I have? And the followers, and I give a shit. But I'll tell you, because people are like, why you did what? Ian still tells me that. He goes, why did you nuke all those followers? But Ian Scotto, but he understands. He just gives me shit for it. But, I Twittered like 275,000. If I was smart enough to use them commercially,
right?
But I wasn't.
Right.
On Instagram, 180 and something. Facebook actually treated me right. Facebook actually gave me back all my followers after I nuked them. But I nuked all that because that was the only way I could get rid of all that anger.
Right.
And I'm not angry. I'm not angry anymore. Yeah, we talk about stuff boils me up. It pisses me off. But am I angry all the time? No, I'm just angry that happened. But as we're done here and I walk out to it's not going to sit with me. I'm not going to sit in my rocking chair. And I am old, guys. I have a rocking chair. I'm 50. I'm not going to sit in my rocking chair going, that damn Hillary, she needs to go to hell. Gosh damn, this world is going to, we're going to go watch Despicable Me, and I'm going to enjoy a bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich with my family.
And it's perfectly normal to be angry about some of the things that you went through and that you experienced. That's nothing wrong with that by any means. So Andrew says, Max Martini looks like he has pure testosterone for blood. And so this is a good one to end on, I think.
Kris, I also want to say that
Go for it.
I totally get where that anger started, because at whatever level it happened, wherever that communication stopped with military commanders, with State Department, whatever it was, without getting political, you guys and everybody got fucked and got left out. Yeah. And of course, as a patriot and as somebody who, one, is doing it for yourself, but two, also doing it because you do believe in the Constitution and you do believe in this idea of America, and you do believe that that you know, even if America isn't on the right track, America's still got your back. Even if they're not doing the right thing for the right reason in a country, they've still got your back.
Yeah.
And then to be left like that and you come back, you, like, anybody's going to feel angry about that. Absolutely. And anybody's going to feel betrayed. And you want answers. And then, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, you're right on. It was, but when I was able to come back and just finally let it all go and realize, you know what, we all want. I think everybody in America, not every. God, I use an absolute shit. It's the vodka, guys. I'm trying not to use absolute. But we like train wrecks. We like to see the anger. We like to see. We want to see the person in the stockades. We want to see that public hanging.
Sure.
And I wanted to too. And when I finally, being a Christian, said, "No, God, you don't need to see that. I don't need to see the punishment to feel vindicated. If I let everything that took place keep bringing me down, or I'm gonna have to see a punishment. I have to see a guilt. I'm missing my 5-year-old growing up again.
Right.
I'm missing being with my 6. It's just like, fuck it. You know what? If whoever deserves to be punished for this, they will be. I don't need to see it. And if they don't, they don't. I'm not Judge, Jury, and Execution. I'm not Judge Dredd. I'm not God. It's not me. Who am I to think? And then I'm thinking, who the fuck am I to think that I am that important?
Right.
That I've got to see all that. No, my job now is to be here, is to be with my family, is to be with my kids. It's to talk to other guys who are angry that went through. I get it. I completely get it. And it's also to, the people that are still, even that see me and see like, man, that right wing crazy guys, come on, man. I'm not. I'm not. If you want to see me that way, that's on you. If you want to be filled with hatred forever, that's on you. But you know what? If you want to have a beer too, we'll go have a beer and we'll talk, and you'll either like me because you do, or you won't like me because maybe it's not because of this, but maybe it's because I still wear pink shoes. I don't know. Maybe it's you hate me because of that. I'll just say it's just one of those things where I had to let the anger go. And the only way I could move forward and get out of that is to let that anger go of what happened, and to understand that what that happened there and what happened leading up in my life, the getting kicked out of the military, the divorces, the ulcerative colitis when I got medical from the military because I didn't. That was a shock, getting medical out of the military after actually succeeding now in 2003, and then having another door opened with Blackwater calling me out of nowhere on the phone saying, "Hey, do you want to go to Iraq to be a contractor?" And me saying, "I don't build houses," thinking that's what a contractor was at the time. But I would have, if I stayed angry, then I wouldn't be able to look back at all those experiences, and even in Benghazi, that experience, and even the experiences of falling on my face when the movie and the book came out, of looking back and learning from it and being like, man, what a fucking hell of a ride this has been.
Right.
And I should be happy. And who gives a shit who's in office? Just do what my grandpa said. Just work your ass off. Just keep working hard and being a good father. And my dad said, be a good father, be a good husband, and just be there. And I even when I was home with all this anger that was in me at that time, I wasn't home. And of course, again, it led to the divorce and me being just a total douchebag. But it comes to a point where people just have to just live their daily lives and turn it all off and nuke all your social media and start over, which is what I did. And honestly, I'm so much happier now. You even see on my posts now. If you look at the posts I do, when I do them, I don't do hateful posts. What does that do? There's enough hatefulness out there, and I don't do any let's show somebody getting shot in the face. Oh, what did we learn from this sort of post? Or, you learn that you don't want to get shot in the face is what you do. But it's more of lifting people up. But in the meantime, it was me trying to even lift myself up a bit and just continue to stay positive. But I get you. But I get where it came from, because I did lead myself down that road, and it was that anger that I was able to vent and get out, and just wanted people to know it. But you're right, Jack. That wasn't me at all. It was just the anger coming out in social media. That's so easy on social media to be angry. Yep.
And people become personas on social media. Right. And even pundits, like I don't think that every left wing and right wing pundit actually believes everything they say, but it becomes a thing, So tell us what you're doing now. Tell us about your books out. Tell us, people.
My primary job now is I'm a father and a husband. I live in Kansas, middle of nowhere, Kansas. I love it. I just love getting up and going for a run and just looking out my window in the morning, having breakfast and seeing the hay bales and it's where I need to be at this point in my life, and where I want to be really for the rest of my life. And my kids are here. I got to go. I've never got to, with my 12-year-old, my 16-year-old, teach them how to ride a bike. Before I came on the show, when we were doing the test, that's what I was doing. Yeah. It's like, who gets, I got to do that. I'm experiencing the things as a father that I think some fathers take for granted. Yeah. That I definitely don't anymore. And I'm getting the chance to do it again with a third child, even though I'm 50, and when he's 16, I'm going to be 65, and everybody's saying, "Is that your grandpa?" No, that's my dad. He's in the line, But who is lucky? I'm so lucky, and I do say blessed. I know that we can hashtag it. That's enough on that stuff. But to get to experience all that stuff, that I didn't get to experience because I was either gone or just not mentally there when I was home with my 16 or 12-year-old. And I get to experience life with my 16 and 12-year-old. So that's first and foremost. I do have the craziness now that I got over myself and got over my own ego, in the HD Vision commercials, which actually, people have always asked me, why aren't you doing merchandise? Why don't you do stuff for Battle Line and I started doing it. Even the podcast. Ian was like bugging me for a while to do it. I'm like, dude, nobody wants to hear what the fuck I have to say. God. But again, if you have a guy like Ian, who was a subject matter expert in podcasts and radio, it's not hard to do. But I got into that. So no, I have a lot of merchandise, but I get to do it my way now. It's not, let's do merchandise and put, fuck Hillary on the back. It's positive stuff. Now I get it, which is where it needs to be. And I have a training company, Battle Line, which people ask me, why didn't you call it Tano's or something? I said, well, because I didn't ever want it to be about me. I want to have other instructors, because I learned from so many people. And believe me, I don't know shit from, I know how to shoot a little bit, but I want other people to come in, and it's like, I called it Battle Line. Guys, the name means nothing. I was listening to a Five Finger Death Punch, Battleborn, and I was listening to Frontline. It was a hard rock Christian group, and their songs came on at the same time, and that's where I came to name. I mean, the Battleborn came on and Five Finger Death Punch, and then Frontline came on after it. So I said, well, let's just call it Battle Line. So that's where the name's from. But the firearms company is doing well. And actually, I turned it. I don't have as many courses because I want to be home more, but I could have more. But we do one a year, and boy, non-intimidating environment. I love it. I mean, we'll get SWAT guys in. I had the Chicago cops in on the last one. Those guys, boy, they get after it. I love them. They just, But then, I got another guy that comes in that's missing a hand. I mean, that's what and I love seeing that. He comes in, and the dude started as a basic pistol. His name's Ralph. Love Ralph, an awesome guy. And now he's actually knows how to do high readies, low readies, and he can pop it into his shoulder, and he has no hand. That is so motivating to me. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this dude. I got all my fingers and toes, and this guy and he doesn't let it stop him. He's missing a hand, and he's working his AR, and you should see the smile on his face and the confidence. And so Battle Line is tremendous, because it's not just firearms. It's not just 2A community. Let's go shoot and kill. And I feel like there's people that come in that we get because we're not intimidating. We like to joke and have a good time. that we get people that maybe wouldn't come in, and it's empowering and inspiring them because you just see the smiles on their faces. Actually, we got more courses this year.
And
Tremendous.
shooting is fun. I mean, people who've been shooting, you owe it to yourself to at least try it once, you know?
Let's try it. It's fun. And
Where
then
can people find, is that battleline.com? Where can people find that?
Yeah, you can just go to battleline.com. If you search Kris Paronto, that's the first thing that pops up. And I have that's what I'm drinking.
There you go.
We're ordering some of that.
This came out of Dalton Distillery. Vietnam veteran who was a moonshiner came up to me and Ben, first Ranger Ben, my buddy Ben, that told me to unfuck my head from my ass. He asked us if we want to do a vodka, and I'm saying, wait, okay, Vietnam, check. Infantry, check. Moonshiner, check. He's still in North Georgia, check. And he's also the best small batch distillery in Georgia. It was a no-brainer. Everything that, it's tough. It's tough to market stuff with your name on it because you feel like, it's just like the HD Visions. You feel like that douche. You're just trying to market stuff to make money. But
on that note, make sure that you like and share and subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell icon. Make sure you hit all notifications.
And join our Patreon.
Yeah, down in the description. I'm sorry. Please continue.
No. So and I will send everybody a free pair of HD Vision. Oh, as many as I have. I have 20. I'll get some more. But no, seriously, if you guys want me to. But that's the one thing is about now with me being in control of everything, where I wasn't in the past. Everything that I market out there, I use, I try, I vet, and it isn't. It's not about just, hey, let's get something out there and make a quick buck.
Sure.
It's awesome and it's fun. And my wife does it with me. She runs the company with me and an old Army buddy that's a GWAT vet. He's the worst speller in the world because he's from North Alabama.
Of course.
Sorry, guys, but he is. He's terrible. Dude is brilliant. And he runs the company. And then we've got the podcast and I do a lot. I was very blessed. I got a lot of public speaking because I'm with Kepler Speakers Bureau out of DC. I couldn't have been blessed to be picked up by a bureau. And I worked my way up. It was hard. I busted my ass speaking for nothing and then speaking to small groups. And then I've worked my way up for the last 4 years. And I spoke as a corporate speaker. And I have to admit, it's been very cathartic for me. And man, speaking to corporate leaders like Burger King execs and Buffalo Wild Wings execs or Red Bull execs or insurance companies like American Family execs, they want to come in and be inspired and hear about leadership. And when I sit back and be like, man, they're listening to me try to inspire these. It's pretty awesome now. It's like, man, you've come a long way from being that hateful that wanted to kill. I want to kill everything. Ranger Smash to. Yeah. Man, holy crap! This is
fantastic.
good.
All right,
And tell us about your books real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, tell us about.
Sure. And I know, like I told you guys, you remember we were going to go an hour. I told you I go down rabbit holes. So you guys know this already.
Here we are.
We're happy to have you.
The Ranger way.
Honestly, I planned on taking you down rabbit holes so we could keep you longer than an hour.
That's all right. That's right. I'm not getting any sex tonight, but it's cool. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it, man.
I got you, man.
No worries. Tomorrow, though, I'll get back tomorrow. We'll make it up to her. But the Ranger way, they're all by the same publisher. So the publisher did 13 hours. After I did 13 hours, I gave them so much material for 13 hours for Mitchell to help us write because he helped us write it. You can't have Rangers and Marines writing books. It turns into coloring books. It turns into pop-up books. You just can't do it. But I gave them so much. They're like, would you like to do a follow-on book? And when I decided to do it, that's when the good Kris came out. That's when how did I learn about success? By failing my ass off. What Ranger has not been successful, but they learned to be successful by failing so much. It's like, let's just do a book on failure and how to be successful. And it is. And it was, there's faith pulled up in there. There's a lot of faith in it. And then the Patriots Creed, when I was asked to write that one, I had my own book, which was good, The Ranger Way. We did 13 hours. I wanted to do a book because I knew so many guys that had gone through more than I have. Lost eyes in explosions, lost legs in a mule bomb. Scotty, who burned in on a halo jump and died on the drop zone. It's like, man, those guys have stories. Let's write about that, but let's pull the Army values into it, because that's when I was going through the moral courage and the integrity portion of my life too, where I was trying to figure that out. And that's what the Patriots Creed was about. Ranger Ways has done very well. I of course, because I'm a right wing zealot. I'm gonna fill in for Alex Jones on the next Alex Jones. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, guys. But I know that's what you think of me. I'm gonna fill.
Not me.
Of course, I didn't get much push by the New York Times, but you know what? On its own, the hardship took care of me, and it's done. It's done very well. The Patriots Creed came out during the COVID, so the book signing I did, but it's doing very well too. And what I love is just faith-based books. It's faith-based books, and it's using my experiences as a Ranger and also in the Army, and my own just experiences being me and learning from my own mistakes, which I think we all can learn from our own mistakes. I know that's what those two books are.
It's tough though, right? It's tough to have that. Our mistakes fit us like a glove, and it's tough to feel them sometimes.
Yeah,
I think.
No. They help us learn. I always felt, if you haven't failed, then you haven't taken the steps towards success. That's how you learn how to be successful. Why the fuck did we do AARs after operations in Ranger Battalion?
Right.
It's to learn. Well, that's another place where I learned from mistakes. Or playing college football and having a Monday, it is so painful sitting in front of your peers after a football game where you've lost. And maybe maybe I've made that mistake that caused us to lose, and having a coach with a clicker, slow motion over and over. Okay, this is where you screwed up. Okay, this is where I'm breaking your heart in front of all the. Let me rewind that and show it to everybody in the room again. This is where you are a total fuck up, and you caused this. But you learn from those failures over and over. And then you either learn from them over and over, or you don't learn from them and you just keep failing. And Ranger Battalion, if that's one thing they taught me, is that you better learn from your failures, because if you do it again, that's not going to happen, because you won't be here for very long.
Kris, last one. Best Ranger story for posterity.
Best Ranger story for posterity. Let me think. Come on, let me think. I wonder if I pick a Ranger School story or a Ranger Battalion story. I think.
I
think, I know it's simple, but it still sticks with me. Is the second time I was at Ranger Battalion, I came in. I knew what to expect. You come in, you're the new private. Of course, as it always works out, you're coming in, and the squad or the platoon you're on is out in the field. So you got to wait for them, which is even worse, because now you're just waiting for everybody to come back to find, hey, who's the new guy that we can fuck with? All right, so I remember I'm sitting in the squad room waiting for them to come back. I already know how to tie inline bowlines. I know how to tie, I know how to tie a half hitch. I know how to tie my knots. I know how to clear the 550, the paracord. I know how the 550 cord to clear out the innards. Mm-hmm. I know how to melt it off. So I'm getting it all tied up, because I'm like, my squad leader, I'm going to be squared away. He's going to come in. I've done this before. He's going to look at my shit and be like, dude, you're a squared away Ranger. Well, he comes in, and it's Sergeant McCaslin. I remember McCaslin. He went to first group later after, but he comes in. I should have known this, but it didn't make a difference. I could have wrapped everything in gold and gave him $1 million. It didn't make a fucking difference. He comes in. And my shit is perfect. I know it's tied off perfect. He looks at it and he goes, "What the fuck is this? What is this shit? Who tied these knots? Who tied this Kevlar? Who fucking did the paracord on his damn Kevlar?" And I'm sitting there, and he knows I'm sitting in the corner. Now I'm feeling all proud. I feel, of course, what do you feel? Even though I know what's going to happen, I'm feeling this big. And of course, the usual knife comes out, cuts everything off, throws it in a fucking pile in the room, and I have 5 minutes to retie everything before we go do a PT test. And the people are like, is that the smallest Ranger score? No, that still resonates me, because it reminded me that no matter how cool you thought you were, no matter how cool and prepared I knew I was, no matter how good it is, sometimes people are just going to shit on your parade, and you're going to have to fucking figure out a way to make a shit sandwich out of that pile of shit. And I did. I remember I got in and I did my little half hitches. I got it all tied up and got it all burnt off. And regardless, he still smoked my bags anyway. But I love that about Ranger Battalion, because it made you. It didn't matter. You're going to have to deal with adversity regardless, and it's going to come at times where you feel like you're on top of the world. And then I went out. Honestly, I didn't let it affect me. It got it out of my head, and I went out and maxed the PT test. But I still remember that day, because I remember him screaming and yelling. And it doesn't matter who you are at Ranger Battalion, when you're a new private, that's feeling in your stomach like, oh my God, this is really scary. I feel like such a pussy right now. I'm so scared. He's just yelling. I feel like that's an awful piece of shit. And but after that, it was for sure, because after we got done, actually he moved me past one of the ammo bearers, because it was a gun team, and he moved me right to assistant gunner, even though I was untabbed, and pissed some of the guys in the squad off. But what were they going to do? I could take them. So it was cool. But I remember that immensely.
Were you there? I don't remember when it was. Were you there when they did the sketches and they did the skit of Grippy? They did the Samsonite luggage sketch.
Oh, I didn't. I heard about that one. I didn't.
Oh my God! Grippy was fucking. I mean, he's the hua of the hua.
I remember him. I don't remember First Sergeant Nolan, who would always talk to Gazoo. Remember First Sergeant Nolan? He would always talk to. We made a joke about him all the time, because he'd always walk down the hallways. First Sergeant Nolan, and tremendous Ranger Hall of Famer, but he'd always be doing this.
Yeah,
and he'd be talking stuff on his shoulder, and that was when the Flintstones and Gazoo was a big deal. And I remember I saw him doing that one time coming through the barracks, and I remember I didn't know who he was. Like, what the fuck's he doing? It's like, don't worry about First Sergeant. He's just talking to Gazoo, and it was a flash. I guess there's another Ranger story for you there. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is the most. I got one more. I got one more. I got a RIP story.
All right.
And this was a coming to Jesus story. I don't know if they still had it, but when you went through RIP, did they have the Viet Cong, the picture at the end of the hallway at RIP?
Oh yeah.
One of the Rangers had painted.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that. After we got smoked, after Strucker came out and did his thing, and we got smoked on, and then then you go in and you get because it's a Friday, and you go in and you get your bedding and stuff, and you got to walk down the hallway. I remember walking, and I remember seeing that picture, and it was an awesome picture. Whoever painted it, it's graphic as hell, but you're seeing the bullet, the little slant cap, the VC cap, and you're seeing the brains come out that side. I really didn't know that the cool stuff that you see at Ranger Battalion, that's cool. But then you start to realize, man, I may have to, wait a second, this is okay. I may have to take a life. I think that if you're not ready for that, because I wasn't born, I'm not a killer. I'm not born, I'm born to be hard. I'm not a killer at all. And seeing that and be like, is this what my job actually is? It kind of set in a little bit of, wait, what is a Ranger? and then, and then as I started to become more into it, I learned, and that's just, that's war. But all the fun of it, and the reading the Charlie Rangers, and the excitement of the excitement of being a Ranger, the blowing shit up, the drops out of airplanes, that kind of set in the realism of, wow, that's what being a war is. That's what Rangers are. That's we do it, but you may have to shoot somebody in the fucking head, and are you ready for that? And that was the first time I went through. That was the first time I went through RIP. That was the story, and I don't know if there's a lesson to be learned off that. It's just it woke me up that it wasn't a cartoon fantasy land anymore. It was. Even though that's kind of ironic, because it was a cartoon picture on the wall, but it's just like, wow, this is what we do, and then of course RIP took over, and I forgot all about that, just the pain and suffering.
Well, Kris, thank you so much for spending so much of your evening with us tonight. Really appreciate it, man. And thank you everyone who joined us live tonight. It's awesome. And next episode 102, is going to be with Steve Silva, who is a diplomatic security service agent. So hope you guys will tune in next Friday for that.
Kris, thanks, man. It's
Hey guys,
it's been real. I mean, seriously, like we
Thank
deeply
you.
appreciate it.
no, you guys are awesome, and bros, I love you both, man. And you're always welcome on our podcast. And
Thank you, man.
Whatever you need from me. And seriously, with the HD glasses, if you want to do a giveaway, just tell me the address. I'll send you a few. You give
All right.
all right,
We'll
whatever you need, brother.
We'll give a couple away.
Wait, signed by Kris?
I will sign the boxes. Yes,
All
sir.
right,
I got them right here.
We'll figure something out. Also, just so you know, I'm originally from Wichita, so next time I'm back in the area,
Come down to Fort Scott, Kansas. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I got you, man. I'll roll
Right.
down.